And
Sold it.
the happiest day of my life was when I sold it.
Yeah, you might as well.
Are all the
Monty's
mics
notif-
on?
What?
You said no chief today?
No, yeah, I told me there was no.
Recording in progress.
We finally have a clock back.
Yeah.
That's nice.
But the glare you can't really see.
Well, I used to kind of depend on it, now I kind of
Busier.
got out of habit.
All right, the time is 9 o'clock. Call to order our city council retreat today on March 23rd, 2024. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Amanda, will you take roll call?
Councilmember Rounds,
Here,
Councilmember Burke,
Here.
Councilmember Dowdy,
Here.
Councilmember Hall,
Here.
Councilmember Frymark,
Here.
Councilmember Houston,
Here.
Councilmember Smith.
Say it again.
Councilmember Smith, are you present?
oh my God, I thought I was.
All right. Perfect. As we have the agenda posted, do I have a first or a second or any comments on it?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as submitted.
Second.
You want to take? Okay.
Councilmember Rounds,
Here, or, what are we doing?
voting on
Approving the
agenda
agenda.
approval.
Aye.
Thank you.
Councilmember Smith,
Aye.
Councilmember Burke, Councilmember Burke,
Here.
Aye.
Aye, aye. Okay, I'll do that.
Councilmember Dowdy,
Aye.
Councilmember Hall,
Aye.
Councilmember Frymark,
Aye.
Councilmember Houston.
Aye.
Excellent. Okay, so we'll now move into our workshop. Just a little ground rules for everyone, just to remind us. There's no decision-making that comes out of this. We would take those to city council meeting. This is discussion so that we can understand where we're going as a city, what we want to directionally go with here. So good candid conversation. I know that there's some citizens that will be popping in today. Hopefully we should be done here by noon. I can't imagine it's going longer than that. But they will be popping in. They might be on Zoom already or coming in. If they're on Zoom and there's comments, let us know, because again, we want everyone to have full dialogue, open conversation. So first item on there is the utility billing, implementation of utility late fees and shut off. So this I put on the agenda here. Back in, hold on, let me pull up my cheat notes. Back in May 15th of 2023, Council passed Resolution 750 that approved collection of late fees and water shutoffs. So during COVID, water shutoffs and late fees was suspended. And so then in May of last year, Resolution 750 approved it. It's something that was never implemented. We have had since on August 2023 through October 2023, the billings have said important notice, late fees, water shutoffs will begin in September for accounts that are past due. Then in December of 2023, through our current billing, it says important notice, late fees and water shutoffs will begin in November for accounts that are past due. So we've had those notifications on the bills, but no action has been taken. And so I've been looking at accounts payable or accounts receivable, what is out there and different things. And I just want people, to understand what we're talking about, the impact here. So accounts that are 90 days and older, there's 129 counts. And just to give you an idea, we have roughly 2,000 meters in Woodland. It's just north of that, but certain businesses have 2 meters or whatever. So round numbers, 2,000 meters. So we have 129 counts that are past due, totaling 303,000. don't let the 300,000 get you shocked, because there is one resident that owes 114, 115,000. And that's a whole nother issue. Then once accounts that are over 60 days, we have another 166 accounts. And then accounts that are 1 day or more overdue is 484 accounts. And what I did is I had this report ran, so bills are due on the 15th of every month. The meter reader goes out around the 15th or 16th. The new bill gets published around the 22nd of that month, and then it's due the following month on the 15th. So between the 15th and the 20th this week, I had mine all run the billing, so we would see who paid everything by the 15th of this month, and I didn't want to have anything in there for the latest billing, so we could just see what is out there. Okay? So I bring it here to council, because again, we are technically should be doing, and so let me just give you what our ordinance is. Ordinance 1469, chapter 13.04.220, which is provision of payment of water and sewer garbages. So it was in the packet here, and if you turn back to page 11, it talks about what that ordinance is. And it's all water, sewer, and garbage collection charges due the city sewer service and garbage collection are delinquent as of the 15th day of the calendar month immediately following the bi-monthly or monthly period, whichever is applicable, such as services rendered. A delinquent charge is set by the city council resolution shall be added for any water, sewer, service, and or garbage collection which is delinquent. At the discretion of the clerk treasurer, we don't have a clerk treasurer, but we have a deputy clerk treasurer, and we have mayor. Water service may be immediately discontinued and disconnected to any property, lot, or parcel if the water, sewer service, or garbage collection plus the delinquent charge is not paid by the 5th day of the following calendar month. So if they're late on the 15th, and then it goes to the 5th, which is roughly, call it 20 days, we could technically shut their water off. Water service shall not be reconnected and restored until all sums are due and have been paid in full with an additional fee for reconnection. So then to talk about our fees, to give you a full picture, if they're late after the 15th, it's a $20 or 10% of their outstanding bill, whichever is higher. So if it's a $150 bill, they would pay $20. If it's a $250 bill, they would pay $25. And then reconnection, if we disconnect them, for them to get back on, they need to pay all past due, plus the $20 or 10% plus $100 to reconnect. So you were looking at almost $150 for somebody who gets disconnected to get them back onto our service. So I open it there on what do we want to do, and I've talked to Minall as well about what it would look like as far as getting collection. I mean, I don't think we would go out after 90 days, and again, I'm opening it up to all of you, but I'm just giving my idea, is I wouldn't go out there at 90-day people and say, gone, you're off. I think it needs customer service, so I think that it would take calling them. Somebody from the city would need to call, say, hey, listen, past due. I think the 30-day people, we could do letters. I just think there's a mixture of what we can do. I just need to know from you all what we want to do. Go ahead, Gabe.
Situation where someone's paying, let's say their landlord for their, and they're not paying the water bill. What do you do in that situation?
So the tenant is paying.
Let's say they have a fixed rate every month of what their utilities are, and they're paying that, but then the landlord in turn isn't paying is there different, what do they do in that case?
Amanda, can you help us with that one there?
What was the question?
So if a tenant is paying the landlord for their water included in there, but the landlord is not paying the water bill.
So utility bills stay in the landlord's name as it is, so we would go off of the landlord.
Yeah, because the tenant can't go down and find out any information whether it's getting paid
They
or not.
can, to some extent. We can give them information to some extent. Most of it is not open for a tenant to obtain that information, but a lot of our landlord-tenant situations, a lot of the tenants do come to our office or call us and they pay their bill directly to the city.
If there's a separate meter for them.
What?
Yeah,
There's
if there's a
usually-
separate meter for them.
There's usually always a separate meter.
Like in the case of Woodland East, there's not. There's one meter.
Correct, so that's a different, unique, different situation
So
besides
what's
most
the,
residents.
what's the plan for them?
We
Or
go
somebody
after
like
the
them?
owner.
We would go after the owner.
You wouldn't shut it off though for the whole park.
Yes,
Yes, we
we
would.
would.
That's what I'm saying, but here's the deal, I mean, we have to treat Woodland East just like we would any other meter inside the city limits. I mean, if I'm gonna shut Carol's house off, and I'm not picking on you, Carol, if I shut Carol off for no payment, and Woodland East, if the landlord isn't paying there, I would shut them, I mean, again, I have to treat everybody by our ordinance and by our rules. I mean, I can't go through and say, well, is that a tenant or is that a landlord?
So, the
Yeah,
problem
think
is
about
we suspended the collection of the fees, okay? And we just put them back, start collecting them now.
So
Well,
hold on,
no, it was put back,
in May of 2023,
yes.
But I thought we suspended them.
No,
in
They kept saying-
2020,
It was suspended during COVID,
And
but then we
Trace-
reinstated it
in
back
May,
in May.
And
So-
then, didn't Tracy and the mayor say in a meeting towards the end of the year that they,
Yeah.
it just continued? Didn't they say that in the meeting?
I don't have.
Say what?
Yeah, I
That
think
they
we need
just
more
continued
information.
to waive late fees?
So
I
JJ,
don't
all the
recall.
information is here. I mean, I think we're getting too far in the weeds. So, May 2020, they were
Yeah.
suspended. Council
Right.
approved it. Boop, we're, May of 2023, so, 8 months ago, 9 months ago, council approved. And right, wrong, or indifferent, we just need to move forward. We have not charged a late
Right.
fee. We
Right.
have not done a shut off. We have not done any of that. We just keep going and going. And so if Carol, I'm not picking on it, but if Carol doesn't pay her bill in 7 months, she has not been shut off. She's not been charged $20. She's not been charged 10%. Nothing. We just keep.
Oh.
And so that's why we're here today. And I'm saying, as I'm going through the ordinance and what is, with the city here, it's been passed by council. So
I
In
think
my
it's time to
opinion, we
start.
have to follow the
Start
ordinance.
collecting.
So you-
if we're
It started
going-
time to collecting, I mean.
Right.
You have to.
money.
The only thing I
Just,
would see
uh,
is, if we have somebody who didn't pay for months, they're gonna have a giant bill. And, it says it needs to be paid in full before they get reconnected. So I would like to see some sort of, language in there that says payment or payment plan. As long as you're following the payment plan,
I
you can
agree.
be reconnected and, you stay current, you'll stay connected, sort of deal.
So
So whose fault is it?
Do we have that
Ours or
option?
theirs?
You seem like you wanna say something.
I have
I don't know that we need to worry about whose fault it is. I mean, we just need to figure out.
I know, but we.
So-
make-
So I agree with what you're saying here, Monty, and I mean, so that's the reason I worked with Minall, because I hear you loud and clear, and I totally agree. We should not go to our community and say, you haven't paid in 7 months, you're done tomorrow.
Yeah.
So these are some suggestions. Go
I
ahead, Carol.
think they still need to be charged a late fee, because they are late. Maybe not necessarily shut them off, but as long as they start a payment plan and are faithful to that payment plan, then I think we can be a little bit lenient,
Not hit them with the reconnect fee.
right.
Right.
Well, and I'd like to see that they're paying their current bill plus some to go towards the past due amount.
So-
Because if they're not paying their current bill, they're just gonna keep getting further and further behind.
our payment arrangement plans we've made with individuals, so there's not a set standard or procedure, it's just said that we can make the payment arrangements, but when we make payment arrangements with people, we do require that they pay the current bill in full, plus at least a quarter to a half of the previous balance, so they're constantly, they're staying on top of current stuff, but they're also working on moving down, the balance that they've accrued. We also do liens on properties as well, so keep that in mind.
So, on any of these that are really past due, is it any of them affect, any of the accounts affect more than one home?
You mean, is it multiple people on one?
On one account, like would it affect
Pretty
a
much the
multitude
landlord.
of people?
The landlord.
So far, I think the list that Mayor Deinhardt has is more single-family unit and a few commercial.
Okay,
They're not like apartment complexes or a situation like Woodland East.
okay.
Right. Woodland East I don't see on here. I don't see large apartment complexes on here. There are a couple, commercial businesses that
Yeah.
are on here, But again, I'm not trying to be harsh, but what's right here is right here is right here.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, and that's where I just want to understand with you all, I'm perfectly fine working with our, employees and saying, okay, this is what we're gonna do, and I want you all to agree and for us to say, okay, this is what we're gonna do. I mean, this isn't something we have to do at council meeting. We can decide right here how, the ordinances we're gonna implement. So right now, we just need to decide, because we can here today, how are we going to implement shut-offs and late fees? And so, like I said, I talked to Midall on what they've done in the past and different things. And, Amanda's talked about payment plans. So for 90 days, they recommend that we would mail out late notices, providing payment options for them. And they typically would do a 3-month payment plan. So you get your current bill current, and then you pay 20% of your outstanding, and you have 3 months to get it all caught up. And then accounts after that 3-month payment, you do a shut-off. So if they don't keep up with their current month and their 3-month, it gets shut off. They recommend that the mayor or somebody, their recommendation would be the mayor, which would be a lot of work, would call all of these people and say, hey, listen, because some of these balances are large. For all other accounts, they think that we could just have somebody from the city call and say, listen, your account is 30+ days past due, effective your next month, so the 15th of April, all past due bills will be charged $20 or 10%, whichever is latest, and if it's not all caught up by the 5th of the following month, it will be shut off.
At what point do you put the lien?
Or make a payment plan.
Or make a payment plan.
Yes.
Yes, good point, Carol, thank
Yeah.
you.
You don't have to worry about that, do you?
Well, if
Unless
it's
they don't make a payment.
$100,000.
Yeah, but it could.
Well, that $100,000 one, that is a
That's not going
whole,
Right.
Yeah,
we've got a lien, that
That's
is,
a guy that's been
That's,
there
yeah,
yes,
a long time.
back
Yeah.
when I was on the council before.
Correct.
His water's not even
He
hooked
just
up as
won't
well.
pay.
right, it's sitting stalled,
Right.
He's,
yeah. But we do have some residents, when the rate increases came, I'm not paying anymore. And they're just like, you know what, I'm putting the
okay.
line in the sand, I'm not gonna pay today.
And that's not right.
No,
Correct.
no.
And they've been still getting water the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
With those people, we need to be a little
Yeah.
hard and firm with them on it and say, hey,
Yeah, I see.
But again, everyone has to be treated
Yeah.
equally
Same.
here. I can't just say,
Absolutely.
well, because you put a line in the sand and you over here can't afford it. I mean, I have to treat them all,
yep, yep. There, I would fully agree with that, and I like the 90-day program. You pay the current bill, and then you have up to 3 months.
Do it.
A negotiated payment schedule.
As long as they're paying something.
Yeah,
No.
as long as they're paying something. But in the case of multifamily, such as Woodland East, or an apartment complex with multiple people who are current on their bills, that's a different story entirely. We need to get our legal folks involved in that. I would hate to have a lawsuit against the city for shutting off 130.
But hold on a second,
150
I mean,
people's water.
so we've gone down this road with the lawyers.
Yeah.
Are the water is signed up in the landlord
Right.
is responsible.
Yeah.
So,
But there's a bigger problem, though. You're taking literally life-saving services away from people because of a third-party irresponsibility. And I think there's a product liability there, legally wise. Okay, now, I'm not a lawyer, but I've got been in a lot of
Single
courtrooms
meters for
before.
each
Right,
unit.
not only would it not be fair to them, but, I've got a third party that's being that irresponsible. We need to do something about that in no uncertain terms. Like in our case, HOA would do it, I'm sure. I happen to know that some units like ours have been significantly in arrears in the past, not only here, but a lot of places elsewhere. And I have seen legal cases come out of it, nothing go to court yet, but I wouldn't want to be the first city to have to defend that. So I think we all need to be
but,
really,
so here's the
really
deal.
careful.
I mean, this is something you would have to change the ordinance. Our ordinance does not say for multi-use or for this or for that. Our ordinance is very clear. It's for the meter, and you have a meter.
Right.
I mean, so that's where,
What I'm saying is we need to look at the ordinance though. to-
okay, then that is a
to add
totally
to that.
different conversation then, yep.
I agree.
I think my only question is if we're sending it to landlords and landlords are responsible.
Right.
If a tenant believes that they are paying their water bill, are they also getting a notice at the home itself? So they are aware that it is past due, that they could still come into you guys and be like, can I just pay you directly so that they're not in
Many
that
times
situation?
users do not.
So we have the option with Manal where the landlord still gets a copy of the bill and we can send a copy to the resident so the tenant also gets it. We just have to have the landlord call us to make that arrangement because it's changes to their utility account. And we do have that set up for a lot of the tenants.
So like if a landlord's not got that set up, but they're getting to the point of getting turned off, is it a way for us to make the tenants aware?
Not
Like,
really.
I think that would be really hard if I would, because until we moved here, I've always run it, and I've been in a
Right.
situation where we were paying our landlord because they had the utility bill in their name. I would hate to all of a sudden come home, have an infant, and have no water and not know why when I
Right.
thought it was being paid the whole time.
We definitely work with tenants and owners in that situation because we know there could be unique dynamic situations. But when it comes to that, tenants are usually pretty aware of when new bills are due, and so they do come into the office and just pay them directly to the city. That's what most of our landlords prefer.
Okay,
And so that hasn't been an issue, but if we start seeing it an issue and we know the property is a rental, we will actually reach out to the owner and try to figure out what the issue is. And they usually will work with us, and that's when we can send the bill to the tenant.
okay,
Yeah.
perfect. That's a curiosity, thank you.
Yeah.
I've been-
Monty?
Go ahead, Monty, sorry, I was taking notes here, my bad.
That's okay. We're talking about an extreme case, and extreme cases are gonna be a case-by-case deal to where if you have Woodland East come in here and you're gonna shut off 150 tenants, you're not gonna just run out and go do that. I mean, you're talking about the news is gonna be here, it's going to be a huge issue, and whoever's in that spot is gonna come to council and be like, the ordinance says this, but do you guys really wanna do this right now? Like, we're gonna be bringing the news in before we turn them off and be like, they're not paying, we're at this point where we have to turn them off. That is such a long way off that we need to stick to just the small issues.
Yes.
Because that's gonna be a news, media issue if that happens. And
Yeah, that's if he doesn't pay.
the mom that gets shut off because the landlord, I mean, can it happen? Yes. Is the baby gonna die the day of that it happens? No, they're gonna go to the city or they're gonna call the landlord and they'll start making phone calls like, what is going on? Like, I have a child and that's gonna be another case that hits the city and the mayor can say, no, turn them back on for now, let's straighten this out. So, that's my view of it.
No, when I was on the council before, we used to bill the person. That's who gives the deposit, is the person, right?
So, JJ,
Okay,
on
well,
another item
that's
on
on-
here was the property owned
Yeah, I was
authorization
gonna
form.
bring that up, but it's on the agenda.
Yeah, because again, this is another thing that changed in one of our ordinances when we went to Minall is that if,
Yeah.
right, when we went to Minall is we put it in the landlord's name. Somebody, Jennifer Rakeen brought a form from Kalama, which is in here, about how you can change that we could and put it back into the tenant's name, which is what the port would like to do. And I'm in favor, and I believe, I don't want to speak for Carol, but Carol kind of nodded her head that night. And so I think there's a little bit of momentum where we need to change our ordinance and go back. So I want to find out how everyone feels about that, and then we'll bring that as an action item.
Yeah.
So,
What I was
yes,
gonna say was, I believe that they changed it, because the legislature was talking about.
correct, and it failed
Yeah, it
in the
failed,
legislature,
and-
correct,
But we did it anyway.
correct.
So what they did when I had a rental in Vancouver is they would bill the tenant, and if the tenant paid normal, I got no notice. If the tenant did not pay their bill, I got notice that they were behind. And then I would have to rectify that with the tenant, because ultimately, if the tenant moves out, I'm responsible for the water. So they would continue to bill the tenant as long as everything's good, no issue. Late notices got sent to the tenant and the landlord, is how they did it there.
That's
but I have another situation, like, we're renting right now, we paid just a flat fee, so it's supposed to be where if it's over that amount, we're supposed to get a credit back. Well, we've never got a credit back, but we pay $500 a month for utilities, but never get a detailed bill on what it is.
And that would be up to your,
Exactly.
your landlord at that point.
Yeah, and so that is another item we're gonna talk about here is,
Okay.
I think
Yeah.
Monty's right, it would be an extreme exception. But, just in case, I would like to, have an agreement with the council that, based on an extreme situation like that, the city mayor in particular could make an exception on a case-by-case basis, depending on the specifics on it. On extreme cases, you don't want 150 people
Well, I
without
think for
water,
future
especially
developments,
having
they
kids.
should maybe meter every individual unit instead of the whole
Yep.
part.
We need to cross that bridge when we get there, I think, but we need to be able to make exceptions.
yeah.
In
But
real
hold on a
time.
second, Gabe, on that, we can't drive and tell them, I mean, our ordinance, you know what I mean? So if they wanna do one, again.
I'm saying
Yeah.
down the road, the future, if there's development down the road.
Right. I mean, again, we're getting way out here where we would have to change a lot of our ordinances and so I'm just trying to focus here and looking at our,
I think we need to start implementing our late fees and.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
And I
Okay.
think that's where we're at for this.
Yep.
so I wanna make sure we're all in agreement here. This is the plan for 90 days. We'll call all the customers, the people that the name is in. Will require current bill paid plus 20% of what is late, correct? And then they will go on a 3-month payment plan for that outstanding bill. Each month going forward, they'll be required to pay current plus that 1/3 that's left. And if they don't pay what's current plus their payment plan that they're on, we will shut them off.
Are we making this effective May 15th, or are we making, or April 15th, or
No,
are we making
it's
this
already in
effective?
effect.
It's already in effect. I mean, that's what I'm saying. What do you guys wanna do?
It's supposed to start
We
enforcing
need
it.
to implement it.
What are some of the high bills on there? I mean, what are we talking for, minus the 100,000, like
No,
what's?
don't talk about the guy that's,
What's
he'll
normal
never
for-
pay you a penny.
We have a business that owes $8,600.
What?
We have another business that owes, 5,000. We've got, several residences that are $2,000, $3,000, $4,000.
Is there any legitimate reasons why they might feel they shouldn't pay?
It's just not paying.
Or is it just,
They don't like mine all? They
They
don't like?
haven't come in and discussed it, I mean.
No, it's just that I think that they're just not paying.
Nobody water leaks.
Again, I've been very candid about people calling me with issues or whatever they want, and, I work with Meinl every Wednesday at 3:00, there's a meeting. We have less than 2, I think it's 1 now, open ticket with them. So I don't think anyone can complain about,
So the
there's been a
people-
couple people who've reached out to me who said, I don't agree with the credit that was issued to me, and I've actually talked to them. One said, you're right, Todd, I was wrong, and another one I'm meeting with next week. So, but they're not on here, they've been paying.
Can we run the numbers just on a $3,000, what it would be for payment plan? If somebody's back $3,000, what it would be,
Okay, so hold
Plus
on
late
here.
fees.
plus late fees and,
Okay, so let's just go with somebody who owes $4,000. Okay, their current balance, 1 to 30 days, is $200. So they're going to need to pay 20% of 4,000. They're going to need to pay $800, and then they're going to pay their past or their current balance, which is 200, which is 1,000. So they now owe $3,000, and they're going to divide that $3,000 now by 3 months.
Plus the
So they're gonna pay
10%.
$1,000 a month, plus they're gonna pay their current bill of $200. They're gonna pay $1,200 a month for the next 3 months.
And then we'll have $400 a month in late
No, when
fees.
we thought of,
that's gonna be tough
yeah.
for like a residential customer. That's gonna be, and we're gonna go in and pull the water at that point?
What else did you?
Well,
That's gonna be the challenge of, you're about to tell somebody they're gonna owe $2,000 and then
So, I mean,
$1,200 from there on out? Is that
and
what
I
we're
mean,
talking?
again, I'm not trying to play hard, I'm just trying to think of it. If I'm somebody who, I'm Todd Deinhardt over here, right? And I've been paying my bill every month, but somebody else is getting interest-free financing, I mean,
No, I
if-
agree.
You know what I'm saying? And so if my water bill for the last 24 months is $4,000, That's
Yeah.
interest-free financing I'll take.
You don't
I
pay your
will
car
say,
payment, they'll come.
the
So hold
one
on a
that-
second, Carol had her hand
Oh,
up.
sorry.
If those people really have a problem and they haven't come into the city,
Yeah.
this needs to be an eye-opener. And then they can come in, if they get a shut-off or whatever, then they maybe will see the city and try to work out something. But if these people are just going along and not paying their bill, then we need to do something, because we can't let,
Yeah.
like
No,
Todd
I get
said,
it.
we've gotta be transparent here.
I'll also say, I mean, right now, taxes are doing, so these may be families that are doing tax returns. It might be the right time right now that they can say, here's my tax return.
Unfortunately, yeah.
So let me ask you this, instead of,
Travis,
and
come here.
I hear, oh, did you have your hand up, Travis? I don't know why you're sitting up there, but go ahead.
So my thought might be to look at keeping it in this budget year, so you give them till the end of the year. That way, the sooner they come talk to you, they get 9 payments. If they
But you're-
wait till June, they get 6 payments.
That's scary that you and I think that way, Travis. That's what I was just going to say is 3 months is just a recommendation from Milo. We could go 6 months, 9 months,
Okay.
but I really think we need to keep it in this budget year so that we can,
Right.
2024, we can say, hey, we started,
So if they give 9 payments, it maximum that,
Sure.
If it's a large amount.
so,
and-
so do we want to
and they
make it
wanna-
structured here where we say if it's over
Yeah.
1,000, it gets
Yeah.
6 months? I mean, we can do that right here if
That
we
was my
want.
thought.
Yeah.
If it's a
I-
high bill, it's like, hey, we'll extend the payment terms, but if it's $1,000 bill, it's like, no, we need you to get this caught up.
Because I think we need to create a structure here for our city employees. Otherwise, I've been down there.
It's-
They're caught in the middle here and they're just like,
Right.
so the more direction, it's not like us putting our thumb on them, but it gives them clear direction where they know what they're doing, and I think it's fair to them. So,
Let's do like 0 to 2,500 or 2,500 to 5, and just do it like a, I don't know.
So the one that's 4,000
They gotta take it.
in the rear, are they 20 months behind at $200 a month?
yeah, since COVID.
They
I
just
mean,
never-
Douglas, you would need to think about it. I mean, we turned off shut-offs and late fees, and it was pretty much interest-free financing here. I can't blame anybody for doing that.
No, but they really should have
Well, we-
picked up,
We need to
Once
fix it
it's-
now, though.
was over and,
Yeah, I guess I think we should implement the Minol plan. They should describe
Mhm.
it. And then only if they come in and complain about that, would we negotiate a longer repayment period. I don't think we wanna set that as a standard. We would do that maybe to help somebody. But I honestly feel what we should be forced to do is go get a loan to pay us off. Because if they've created the issue.
Yeah.
Carol?
the only, I agree with you as far as that goes, but the only problem is, these may be people that couldn't get a loan. If they're that far in arrears, you know,
And that's why
I
say
don't
we could
see
work
them,
with them.
yeah.
If they
Right.
don't, if they can't
Right.
do the 3-month plan, then what Travis is suggesting, divide it up over the rest of the year, but at
Stick
some
with
point,
my
it's
goal
gonna
and
either
what's
get
it's a,
cut off, or,
Mhm.
I mean, because it got paid, everybody's got paid.
Is this bill currently going out? Will they be able to put late fees on it, or are we past that time that late fees can't go on this current bill?
It's already out there. I paid my water bill today, so the bills are out there, so there's no late fee on this one.
So the late fee will start on the next bill?
starting the next billing cycle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it'll be in effect, May 15th will be the
Right.
first.
Right.
Could you imagine if you wrote it out for 20 months?
No.
Some people-
$200,000.
Well, I think we need to
I
move
think-
on to the next one.
Yeah.
Okay, so can I just really quickly,
Yes,
Carol?
let's
Let's.
surmise what we're.
So what if we did for $2,500 and below, we give them 3 months, okay? If you go to 4,000 and above, it goes to 6 months, and anything above 6,000 goes to 9 months.
I like it.
It's fair.
If they need some kind of extra help, if they come talk to the city, maybe we can work something out.
I
But
don't
we
think they
do
get-
need to keep it
but
in
Yes.
this
they-
year.
They don't
Yeah.
get longer
Yeah.
than 9 months.
No.
Correct.
Right.
I'm just taking the notes here, sorry. Okay,
And so,
So what,
for clarification, if they don't the first month that they do not honor this agreement, they're cut off.
Correct.
Okay,
So we lose altogether. If we cut them off.
No, you put a lien on the house and things, I mean,
Well, if it's ain't their house. well, I
It
guess
goes
the
against the
landlord,
property
yeah.
owner.
Right.
Yeah,
Right,
I guess.
yeah.
I pay my bills, so.
I do too.
So,
Doesn't this have to
Never
come
mind.
back to council?
No, it's already in,
right. No, because actually what we're doing here is we're,
making it better.
payment plan,
than it was.
right, we're doing
Right.
payment plans and,
and we're not changing the
Yep.
ordinance, so.
yep, we're not changing the ordinance. And so then, for customers that have 60 and less, we will put that they would need to pay, well, 60 days, I think we should do the same thing. If, the 3-month, 4-month payment plan, I mean, I don't know why we would not let. And then the 30 days, I think we just jump into,
COVID created the extremely high bills.
yep,
The goal is to rectify the high bills, and then once they skip a bill, it's only gonna go a couple of months before they get a shut off
Right,
at that point.
and so effective, the bill that comes out on the 22nd of April that is due May
Yes.
15th, there will be late charges on all
Yep.
those.
yep.
My last question. April 22nd bill. If you're on a payment plan and you're making your current bill, are we going to charge them a late fee as well?
No.
I don't think so.
No, I think we
I think if they're
Show good faith in paying.
showing good faith and doing their payment schedule, but if they fall behind, then it
Okay,
kicks
Should
back
there
in.
be the one-time late payment for this current situation?
but I'm not doing that with people on the 30 or 60, and other people have been 30 days, I haven't. That's the only thing I would throw out on there. I haven't with anyone else.
I feel like they need a first-time late fee for some of these, like,
I think you send out the notice, you say, you either call us and get on a payment plan, or you're gonna start getting late fees and
Yeah.
shut-offs.
Right,
And if they don't call, don't get going, late fee,
Shut
boom,
it off.
shut off and go.
Yep.
Call and,
Yep.
So,
yep.
Okay. I appreciate conversation on that. That will help give direction for our team. The next one is the tenant landlord discussion. So, like JJ was talking about, the House was working towards this direction that all water bills would need to be in the landlord, not in the tenant. So as that direction, City Council previously changed when we went to Midall and had all of the water bills and utilities put in the name of the landlord. That created issues with the Port of Woodland because they don't have the ability. There's a lawsuit out there with the City of Woodland and the port right now going round and round. Just so everyone's up to speed, I've put our attorney on stand down. Jennifer has put hers on stand down. So there's been no action in that lawsuit in the last 60 days. That was one of the first things in January we did. Because when I saw that bill was done, I wanted to come back and have a conversation. And Amanda brought to me what Kalama had, and Jennifer Raking brought me what Kalama had, and it was like, okay, we really could do something like this, and we've talked to Midall, and Midall's like, yes, we can do whatever you want, as far as that. And so if you look at, this is in the packet, I believe, and she's put it up on the screen here. It basically puts that the property owner and the tenant come in and sign together. The bill goes to the tenant is responsible, but if the tenant doesn't pay, we can go after the landlord.
yeah.
Now, will that be forwarded, I mean, if the.
And again,
person
hold on a second, I
moves
wanna be
out-
clear,
Yeah.
we're not voting on this here, I'm just
Right.
trying to get direction if we should spend time with council or with staff to go draft this for us. So, I'll go to you in a second, Carol, after JJ, finish.
Yeah, okay, so in other words, where was that? Okay, so the landlord comes in, the tenant would put a deposit too, right? So what happens when they move out, say, 6 months, a new tenant comes?
they have to sign
Who-
the notice.
The landlord still has to come back in here,
He'll have to do it
Correct.
again. Okay.
correct. It's a little bit of a nuisance for the landlord, but it makes it so that we have, accountability with the tenant, and we're not going to get left hung high and dry here with the landlord.
Because we give a deposit back after how long? 1 year?
1 year of no
One
late.
year of good billing history and no late fees or shut-offs.
Okay.
But you could change that to where you just hold it for the tenant until they move out. And you can also, what Clama does, talking to their utility billing rep, what they do is they collect a utility deposit from the landlord and the tenant. And the
Oh,
one for the
really?
landlord just stays on file.
Oh,
And then for the tenant, they just keep until they basically move out and they put it credit towards their final bill.
that's what I was
I got
It's
you.
a
You don't have to hold your hand up.
nuisance
yeah.
to the landlord the way it is
Yeah,
now.
it is.
So I don't think they're gonna mind going down to the city and signing with the tenant when they get ready. The only thing is, we're gonna go after the landlord if the tenant moves out, is the port. See, their thing was that they can't be paying somebody else's water bill, so how's that gonna affect the port?
Let me take that as action. I don't know the answer to that one, Carol.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because, you know, that's their one of their big beefs,
Right.
is they don't wanna be responsible for their tenants, because they have public money, so they can't be paying for somebody else.
Right.
But if the tenant moves out,
If they sign the agreement.
and that, without paying it, it's gonna go back to the port.
What if the tenant has an agreement that says that they'll be held responsible if they decide to leave and they have an unpaid bill, that it would still be their responsibility, not that.
But how do you do it?
Now,
when
Well,
see,
you're not
that-
to
building?
me,
that comes out
to
of
me,
the
I
deposit.
think it should stay with the tenant
Yes.
and be a lien on their name or whatever, because PUD doesn't go after the tenant, or they go after the tenant, they don't go after the landlord. If somebody moves out, you pay a little fee for your electricity to keep it on so that it's not turned off.
They'll send you to
And then
collect
when
it.
somebody else moves in, it goes into their name. It's
See-
not,
Yeah, and this is what they put here, the RCW
Okay.
on here. So it says, this form acknowledges that the property owner is aware that even though the tenant is receiving the bill, should the tenant default, the property owner, by state law, RCW 35.21.290 for water, 35, for garbage, 35 for sewer, is still responsible for the payment of the water, sewer, and garbage bills. I understand that as owner, I am responsible to notify the city of any changes in tenants, and that I'm responsible for any bills that occur to the date of notification.
but so that makes the port
Yep.
then liable.
Yeah, but I wrote that down as an action, so when we
Okay.
bring this to council, so what I'm hearing is we will go this direction, and we'll bring it to council.
I think we should get it back into the tenant's name.
Okay,
So hypothetically, if mine all goes away,
we're not doing hypothetical.
how can this
Yeah.
be managed by city staff? Well, that's the only question I have.
The new software system that I vetted out for the city, they do have a utility module, and this is something very doable.
Thank you.
Okay,
Okay.
so that helps me with that one there. Okay,
Thank you for doing that, Amanda.
Because the landlord gets his from the deposit.
next item is the Minol contract utility billing agreement with Minol. So I bring this into here just so you could see it. I want people to start thinking, I'm not saying we're leaving Minol, I'm not saying I wanna stay. I think you've all heard me very loud and clear. Minol has cleaned up their act, working with them, they've gone very diligently, don't have complaints out there from, our citizens. Go ahead, Carol.
The bill is not gonna lower just because we move it back to the city.
Right, so, right, so it comes down to, for me, is the cost here. And so, I just want people to start thinking about that, because what was done last year is no agreement was signed, and so then it rolled for another year. And so this year in September, October, if you don't sign it, it rolls for another year. With the accounting software, the decision was made not to do any billing or even look at that, because again, we wanna get accounting and all the things fixed, straighten out, and then decide, hey, do we wanna try and bring in billing or not, rather than try and convolute it at all. That's the only reason I bring up the Minol here, since we're talking about utility billing, and for people to think about. So, when it comes time in 6 months or whatever, my recommendation is later on just to let it roll and do another 1 year. People are like, oh, okay, so. Okay, any questions on that? No real discussion, I just want
My understanding, it'll roll over forever unless either party does something.
Yeah, or they could reach out to us and want a new contract and
What's
say,
the money to bring it in-house?
well, that's why I say, that's a whole nother conversation to do later on down the road. This is more around, hey, Midol is still here, we're still doing this.
I'm good then. It was a similar question, so.
Yeah,
We're good.
haven't done the analysis 100%, so, okay?
Is there anybody online?
So anything else?
We have one individual online, but no comment yet.
Okay.
You know, I just thought it was Doug. It wasn't nothing to do that mic, but I don't think that mic works.
This one?
I can hear.
Barely.
Can we turn it on up here or adjust it a little higher?
It works online. It's probably just the
Speaker.
speaker. And where you're sitting, there are dead spots, so you might be sitting in a dead spot there.
I actually swapped those.
Hello. But that's a lot louder.
See if that was a problem. That's Gabe's mic now, and it seems to be working okay. Is the other one working?
Okay, any
No,
other
not saying
questions,
that.
comments about utility billing before we move to our item B? Okay, next item is item B, and I will attach this to the minutes here. I just want everyone to be aware of kind of the org structure for the city, doing analysis, working through. Did I get enough around that way?
I can't hear. I sent them to you.
Everyone got a page?
I sent them.
So I've talked about it at the last couple council meetings. Again, blue is positions that are vacant that we're looking to hire and fill. Obviously, we need to hire the clerk treasurer. We posted a deputy clerk treasurer position instead of the clerk treasurer. I wanted to make sure that there was I really want to promote within. And I don't think there's anybody internally that said, hey, clerk treasurer is ready for that. So it just didn't make sense to post it. So it'll be kind of a little hybrid of this, I think. Public Works position is there. We did interviews yesterday. City Council did, a few of us, for second round of the Public Works Director position. 4 candidates, went really well. So everyone knows what has happened. So the city employees did interviews last week, 4 of them, 4 same employees, or 4 same candidates. Then City Council, we did yesterday with 4. And I don't know what everyone wants or who they want. I've just asked that they everybody who was part of the interview process, send me an email ranking the 4 candidates as your first through 4th. And then if you got a 1 vote, that's worth 4 points. If you got a 4th place vote, that's worth 1 point. And I can just tally and say, okay, what do we really think is the right way to go here? And so from there, I'll look at the points and I'll come back with a recommendation.
Did you get mine?
I believe, yes. I got yours and I got Douglas's. I've sent the applications to everybody here. If you have questions or on the different candidates, you're more than welcome to reach out to me on that.
I might do that, 'cause
Okay.
I could only open 2 of them.
Well, I did that on purpose. I'm kidding. So, yeah, reach out to me on that. The deputy clerk treasurer position, there was 3 council members and myself interviewed those as well. I did the same thing where I asked each of the people interviewing to send me a notification of who their top choice is, and then why they chose that individual. I haven't put all the paperwork together to make a decision, but that is in the works as well. That position isn't required to go to council, but I'm going to bring them both to council and have a dialogue and conversation. Okay? So this here, I just wanted people to be aware. I also, last Monday before council, I met with the police chief and the police guild. I know that there was a lot of discussion previously around the lieutenant position, around an admin sergeant position, what work goes with what. So the outcome of that meeting was, hey, the guild, the chief need to get together, have a conversation with the union and drive that. There is an open position on our civil service, so I'll be bringing that to council to be able to get it posted, and Janice Graham was on that.
And on that, I'm understanding that you are going to be meeting with all of those parties quarterly, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so that,
Yep.
that's
So
pretty
which
good.
one did you say was an opening for?
So civil service has an opening right now, and the park commission has 2 openings.
Says here officers are 4 positions, so that 4 positions open?
There is 2 positions that are open there.
So 4 should be a 2.
There's 4 positions that report up to the admin manager.
And how many of those are open?
2 of those are
2
open.
of the 4.
Yeah.
Just a question here. Why wouldn't the clerk 4 and both of those be like under the lieutenant too? Wouldn't they? like-
Which one?
Like the clerk right under the police chief, wouldn't those, like, I guess I don't understand why those are just under the police chief only and not like under the lieutenant too. I would think the lieutenant would be kinda second in charge. Is that not?
Don't have any idea. I mean, I
Okay,
kind of worked with the chief on what he has, likes, doesn't, I mean,
okay.
so.
Not a big issue, just
No,
curiosity
but
more than
I
anything.
see what you're saying, because you would
Yeah.
think it would be the chief and then the lieutenant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and when I did this, I mean, we don't have a lieutenant position there now, so that could be just an oversight between chief and I,
Right.
Okay.
where they actually slide down underneath there, so I can
Okay.
work on that one. I can take that action. Okay? You guys can keep those. I'm gonna attach them to the meeting here, and as we make changes, whatever, we'll get them on the city website. Go ahead,
Is
JJ.
this the way the code enforcement's gonna be under community development?
Yes,
Okay.
it's been under the community development, and
Always.
And
Oh,
we're
yeah.
gonna split that position right now between,
so I had a conversation with one of the permit tech and wasn't really interested
okay.
in combining those. I know when you go back, prior, there was an employee we used to have who did the permit tech and code enforcement
Right.
combined together. So they're 2 separate jobs now, so it'd be one of those things we'd have to negotiate with the union.
And a complaint driven, right?
Correct. So, and again, not trying to overhaul and just say, well, now you're this, you're this. Trying to, look at the positions we have and how we can juggernaut and move things around and be a little more efficient and streamlined. Okay? Any questions on that one before we move to the next item? So the next one is the strategic plan on city-owned buildings. I brought this one here because there's a lot of discussion and different things that are out there. We have a presentation. Just as we go through here, again, I always share my opinion, and I want you all to share your opinion, is I don't know that the city should be a landlord, where we're renting and doing all of that. Does that mean that we look for a way to strategically, do things with them? I don't know, but again, that's council's decision. I am here just to implement the things that you all want to do. And so, as you look around and you see all the different buildings and what's going on, I just want to make sure everyone is aware of what we've got as a city and what we've got coming in. Go ahead, Carol.
So if you're thinking that the city should not be a landlord, are you talking about the community center also?
No, and that's why we're gonna go through every one of
Okay.
these and get
Okay.
I wanna hear from you all and say, hey, what are your thoughts on this building? What should we do or what should we not
Okay.
do? So, again, you know me, Carol, I want you all to just be, telling me what you wanna do and give you the facts and the information there. And so that's why we did this. So, Travis?
Is there many cities that don't have a landlord?
Um,
I think every city does it.
I think everybody does, but again, for us to have 7 or 8 vacant buildings for the size we are, that's quite a few
So
buildings.
vacant,
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Get rid of it.
so the first, Travis, you're jumping ahead here, sir.
Yeah, it's just not sliding
Okay.
picture at a time.
Okay, so the first building here that we see, and can people online see this? Okay.
Mary Hall.
Okay. I thought that the chamber might be calling it. Okay. So the first one here is 100 Davidson Street, the old fire station. So currently, we have one food cart that is there, and the agreement that we have with that food cart is it's a special events permit is how that got through there. The special permits, events permit can be canceled with 30-day notice from the food vendor or the mayor. They pay us 15% of total sales. The first month we got $45. The second month we got $300. We're spending electricity right now and a few other things that are going on. previously, we spent close to $40,000 to get this ready. The money's been spent. Let's just move forward here, what we want to do. The Hawaiian Island or the Islander is nowhere, I mean, they're not renting there or anything. So, me personally, I think that the family that is there in that cart now, they've spent a lot of money on that cart. Until council says this is what we want to do with the building, I have not canceled that contract. I don't think it's, I mean, yeah, I can cancel, but I don't think that's my right to just say, boom, get out of here, you're gone. I want council to say, hey, what do we want to do with this building? Go ahead, Carol.
Well, we're keeping the electricity on that building anyway. Am I
Yeah,
correct?
you have to have
So-
electricity.
Exactly. So at least we are recouping a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, they're using some, so especially with the 300, I would think that would well take care of their electric bill.
Their share of the electric,
Their share of
yeah.
the electric bill.
Yep, yeah, I mean, their 300 is covering the expense, the additional expense. But the expense that we as a city have for a building that's sitting there,
Right, it's
Yeah,
not covering
yeah.
that, correct.
correct.
Mayor Deinhardt, I have something to add to that. So that building also has an elevator in it, and we are required by law to keep it operating even though no one's in it, and that's a huge expense on the city. Just, so that's also factoring in maintaining that building.
But you,
It shouldn't be that much to keep it going.
yeah, it is.
Can I ask
Yeah,
a question?
handle.
Just a crazy thought here. You're probably gonna be like, are you seriously asking this? Why can't we turn that into City Hall eventually and make that fire doors into like our council chambers? Cause this was originally supposed to be a training room for the police.
So,
How much would the cost
so
to
the
do
latest,
that?
I shouldn't say, the only study I have seen, and again, it would be some rework and some spending money we would have to do. It was close to $800 to $1 million for the overhauling of that whole building and getting it earthquake-proof, asbestos, the whole 9 yards. And so, again,
How much can we sell our other two buildings for that are currently placing City Hall and everything? Because I think that would be a cool building
It would
as
be a cool building.
the long run for City Hall placement, you know?
What about being an investor, not only that, getting a 5-story condos with retail on the bottom level? Isn't the views from the top of that thing?
no, I haven't been up there. I know that there's a church who has reached out to us and heard that I was wanting to sell the building, and I said, well, no decision's been made. But they said if something was to be done, they would be, interested to look at it. Jennifer from the port has reached back out and said, the port commissioners would, be willing to look at, partnership or do something there. So Carol, I think you were next.
No, JJ was
Okay.
first, so go ahead.
I was there till we stopped using it for council chambers, and there was leaks in the wall. There was a lot of work that needed to be done. There was mildew problems and stuff like that. And this was designed for council chambers. The building is gonna take over $1 million to fix.
Yeah, and I'm not saying the
Quite-
cost
quite a
isn't there.
bit. My recommendation is to get rid of it, and
Yeah.
then either build a new building later, replace the two we're in now, or,
Again, no decisions is gonna be made here, but I just want people to start thinking about, hey, and then we can bring this to council and say, each week we can go through each building and say, what do we wanna do? So,
My
So-
only concern with selling it to the port
mhm.
is they're gonna raise taxes on individuals, property owners, in order to fix the building. And so that's my only concern with that.
Yeah. Okay,
well,
That's exactly what they'll do.
are we gonna pick and choose who we sell the buildings to?
No, but do
Well,
you
if
wanna
they
have
put it
your
up-
taxes raised?
That's why private
I'm just saying.
investors-
Port tax, that's port tax.
private investors-
I'd like
Yeah.
to see what it costs to
pay
fully
port
rehab the
tax.
Well,
building.
we're paying city tax.
That's my take.
okay,
So I think it'd be a cool building to have City Hall, council chambers, everything in one spot.
Bring in a big developer, let them put up all the money, and then have the city reap the benefits.
And I think the building can be brought back to the leak issues, the mildew issues, stuff like that. Now, is it gonna cost money? Absolutely, but
a 1969 building.
Yeah. And I've seen older buildings get rehabbed to
Yeah,
be
right.
100%.
Exactly.
Seen an interesting
I
idea.
think it would be a great place for us to move and have, I mean, like, when we went to that training down in Battleground, like, you walk in and it
Oh,
looks
wasn't
like
that
a city
something?
hall, like, it's like, okay, this is where business takes place.
Mhm.
Nothing against our city hall, but it's just another storefront, like, it's not, it doesn't have a presence like that does.
We haven't
And
built
so
it.
I agree, like, I would love to have something like that, that's like, especially where it's located, it's just,
I was gonna say downtown, and it helps kind of revitalize downtown. Having
Absolutely.
the city hall down there, because you have foot traffic
I think that's a
and people coming
fantastic
down.
idea, Monty.
But another merit to that is that if we free up that building that we're using now in order to, move, then that building would more likely be saleable to the average buyer than a building
Business.
like this.
And it's already ready, like, they don't have to do much.
So let's be cautious though. I mean, there are businesses and buildings downtown Woodland right now that are for sale that aren't.
But they need a lot of work, a lot of them.
Okay.
Well, and I've heard that, like, people are not selling them when people are asking them what they want for them, is what I was hearing.
Okay.
Like, I think the port has reached out to other people and they wouldn't sell.
Got it. Okay, so, okay, I mean, we'll figure out a high level there. I don't wanna spend a lot of money to go find out what it's gonna cost, but, certainly, okay. Next building. Civic Center, is Kim or anyone from the chamber on? So, the Civic Center, we've talked about this extensively. We've made progress on this building, the costs have been wonderful. The chamber, I've met with, they've got a group together for, I don't know if you want to call it relocation or building, I don't want to speak for them, group on that. They came and met with me one day. The oak tree, they've kind of kicked the oak tree out or off in the sense that's not where they want to go, so now they're looking to go other places. They really want to be able to get in here for $1 a month, $1 a year kind of a deal. And I've been kind of candid with them. I have a tough time spending $1 million+ to say, here's a building and now here you are in there rent free. I think that's a difficult one. Have they decided they want to go in here? Not a bit at all. They're still working to figure out where they want to go. So met with Koff this week. He's putting in a pine ceiling and working on some different things for us.
The only thing I see with the chamber going into there, mayors change, things change. Plus, if the chamber decides to, let's say we're getting ready to raise the taxes on utilities or, I don't know what, but something tax-wise, and the businesses are not for it. And they're gonna be in opposition of the city. That creates, I don't care what you say, that creates some animosity there between the two. And so I'm not sure that the chamber being there, in there is a good idea.
Yeah, and so on that note, that's where my head is at, Carol, in the sense, that's why the $1, that all of a sudden is like, hey.
And they
that's-
can't afford
Right,
to
and
pay.
so that's why I'm saying, hey, if you're paying rent monthly and you have a contract, a tenant landlord contract, you go support what you want, you get to do what you want. I mean, it's no different than any other building that we rent out. People can do what they want, so that's why I say it has to be kind of a fair market value.
So I know we used some money that we got from tourism dollars for that building, correct?
We used 29,400 and some change. I pulled that up and it was the exact dollar for the lumber package that you see right there.
Okay, and so with that, do we have to, is just because it's a trailhead, is that enough, or?
I think it is, Melissa.
Okay, so we don't have to have them in there for that to be?
The chamber?
Yes,
No.
or a visitor center or anything like that, just
No.
because it's a trailhead, we get away with that being okay?
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah. You're worried about whether we'd have to get the
Right.
$29,000
Yes.
back to LTAC,
Yes.
correct? Yep.
okay.
Yeah, it's 29,000.
One thought I have with that building is, the idea, I think, was to have a lot of use of it, different groups using it. I think if we To me, it's kind of a conflict.
So, right, when you say the community use it, the whole inside, including the 4 bathrooms, is smaller than this room right here.
Right.
It's literally 675 square feet. I
Do you
mean,
think people will use it for any, I mean, because wasn't that kind of the idea behind?
It's smaller than the square footage over by the school,
I mean, they kind of
Yeah,
sold
it's
it
small, it's small.
as a visitor center, like,
Yeah.
when they brought it to us, it was like, this is gonna be our visitor center, welcoming people to Woodland, like, get your
That's what
information,
we-
like.
I think in the beginning, I think that was the intent.
That was the.
And Chamber even kind of thought of that,
Yes.
but,
So I
they
care-
can't afford
Right.
to pay.
so I carry
They
a
get
little
their-
folder even
their
on Civic
monies
Center
from us.
because it's near and dear to me, Terry. So here's here's the inside of it that I'll pass around. These are outdoor bathrooms. These are indoor bathrooms. So literally, you're talking the inside here. There's an office. So the inside, this usable space here, is literally 400 or 500 square feet.
Which is a tourism center. If it was a tourism
Yes.
center, there's enough space.
Period, but not
Period,
for, to
yeah.
have other things.
Right.
Um,
And if it was just tourism, paid with tourism dollars,
Library sold us the land because they didn't want it.
and, you know, the money, right now, the money goes to the chamber, is supposed to be to run the visitor center. and
Out of
pay for
LTAC, the
employees.
50,000 a year you're talking about.
Yeah, and half pays for the director, and half pays for the, I mean, the full pay pays for the 2 people that run the place. And it could be done that way, I'm sure. But the chamber, would, you know, take a bit, the chamber.
Anybody else want?
Well, how much LTAC dollars are there? Why can't more LTAC dollars be sent that way to help fund that visitor center and
Yeah, and just make it
And-
visitors.
go from there on costs?
So, hold on a second. Let Carol ask her question or comment.
Go ahead, because I kind of lost my train of thought there.
So, when, and I have to get my head in the right frame here, because I mean, I might be thinking this wrong. So, visitor center is ran by the chamber. They're 2 different things, but
Yeah.
chamber is running that, where it's like, hey, we are not hiring a person to go do that. And so that's why, you know, when you say, here's $50,000, it's because it really is the visitor is part of that whole piece there. And so I don't know how much more is available in LTAC dollars. I mean, I know that there's people that are looking for dollars, you know, different items, you know, downtown Woodland revitalization and Planners Day and those things. I honestly don't know the answer to that one, Monty.
I mean, it's up to us to decide. Like, there's a committee that says this is where it goes. It's up to us to approve where it goes.
Because could we give them, like, instead of 50, give them 62, and then they pay 12,000 for the rent of the building?
For the year.
For-
could do
Yeah,
that.
for the year, for
If that comes-
LTAC dollars.
If the funds are there.
Yeah. And again, we can't make a decision here.
I was on the committee, you know, to set with that, and I think there is a reserve in the tourism dollars.
There is.
I don't remember how much right offhand, but I know there is a reserve there, you know, so, I don't know, but what I was thinking, if we decide to sell it or whatever, would we be liable to give those funds back to
The
city?
29,000?
Yes, that we used for tourism
As I've
dollars?
read it, I don't see that, but I mean, again, I would need to get Frank or
Yeah.
somebody to
Yeah.
literally go through it. But I just want you all to know, it's 29,000 and it's some, I mean, it literally is the exact same price of the lumber package that came, dollar for dollar.
Right.
And the other thing that was brought up, I think in one of those emails, is that corner was originally also wanted because the plan was that was going to get a roundabout and cut hugely into that
Right.
property.
Right.
At that Gorig intersection. So that was the other thing, it was wanting to be acquired by us because that was gonna come.
Yeah, I mean, when you say sell it, I don't know where you're gonna find somebody to buy that building for
Right.
$1 million+ dollars, and the chamber is never gonna be able to buy it.
Oh, no.
So that's why I say, it comes down to renting, finding some, the community, I mean, we could do it like the community center for $100 an event, I mean, it's just one of those things, and I think you've all heard me talk about, you know, when I met with the chamber. You know, it'd be great for senior citizens and youth to be able to use it as well. Carrie Swire and team are excited about it. They like, that would be fun to have people in there, and When visitors come through, they want to sell beaver gear, they want to sell woodland stuff, where they would also see a thriving
We do.
community where there's people in there playing cards, joking around. That is a way when you're a visitor, you're like, oh, look, this town, it is thriving. There's people out getting around, not just walking into a vacant building and looking around. So, and Cough Construction is also putting in some beams at their cost so that we can display things in there. I mean, Coughs have been wonderful.
Yeah, when I was the executive director, this was the talk, that was where the building was gonna go for the chamber. We were looking hard at replacing the trailer that we were in now, because it's rotting. If you go look at it, it's actually falling apart. We were talking about, the mayor's, the one before, Finn, who was that?
Lasky?
Yeah, even Leskey was saying the build there, and now the opportunity come, we got the building there, and then I heard Trill thing, because they give $20,000.
I guess I look at it a little different. Like, I do see that, yes, we don't want to charge them $1. And if we can get LTAC dollars and try to figure out a way that we use those LTAC dollars to give us back where we're covering our utilities and that kind of stuff with it, I don't think recouping the $1 million is necessarily something that I feel we need to do, because I think it is a great welcoming tool into our city to bring people to the lake, bring people to the library, bring people to downtown. Because I think the visitor center being there, you go to like Kalama even, and you talk about bringing in beaver gear and things like that. We have at the high school, you know, a marketing department that are teaching the kids to do this, and we have, you know, people doing all of these things. Well, you go to Kalama's new building, and they have an entire thing where they're using the students to buy things, and it's going back to their school. Use that to let our high school make things that we can sell for our own town. Like, I think it's a great place for us to give back to our community and not necessarily expect to receive much for it, but also be somewhere where we can promote our small businesses that are in town and have signs and say, hey, come check out the candy store, come check out the thrift store, come look at this, you know, thing that I just don't feel like we do enough for our small businesses here to promote them. I think this is a great place to be like, let's check this place out, and what do they have to offer us? And I think the visitor center is what brings people to Woodland and will get more businesses to wanna be here. And
Bring
if
tourism dollars into
it's
the
gonna
Woodland.
bring people to say, I do wanna revitalize our downtown, I do wanna be a part of Woodland, I do want to make this our community that we give back to.
Does I can't remember now, I used to be on the board, but does the chamber pays for their electricity where they're at?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we pay for electricity, we pay for water.
Insurance and water.
We pay for insurance
Garbage.
and, taxes.
Yeah, so, see, if the chamber happened to move
Yes,
in it,
I
they'd
mean-
be paying the electric bill,
The hard part is the water, because it's a trailhead also,
yeah.
where those restrooms are back
Right.
there, and
But if you're using
So-
LTAC, that gives some of that back to it too.
Right.
Yeah.
that's where you're gonna get into difficulty.
Yeah.
So,
So, more to come on, go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, it can be, and that's what, we sold things for, to earn money to pay the bill.
yeah.
So, I mean, it could work.
Yeah. So, more to come, obviously, I mean, more discussion. Like I said, there's a big, huge fire pit that's there with a big old round.
You can have lunch.
I'm looking actually to put in a big 40-foot flagpole there with a great, big, huge American flag, where people driving down I-5 would look and see, wow, look at the big, huge flag
Yes.
in Woodland.
I
I
like
mean,
that.
something like that. I mean, it would be nice to have something when you drive past Woodland that's like, I remember that huge flag.
Doesn't, Tapatia place?
Casa Tapatia.
Yeah, don't they have a big flag? Is that-
They
have a
used to.
big-
They used to.
They used to.
We're talking
They
big,
had
like
big-
Texas big.
This was a big,
But even making
So
like a nice wood sign that directs people to our small businesses, that all of our small businesses, if they donate enough for their plaque that goes on the sign that says all the businesses that are down there, and all they have to do is just, we buy the sign and they just pay for their individual sign.
That would be
we
chamber at
already
that
got,
point.
we
Yeah.
already bought the sign, that's gonna go over there. The one that's at the visitor center.
The reader board.
No,
That's
The one
pretty-
that goes across
Yeah, the
all the time.
30,000
It could be the
doesn't-
businesses'
Yeah,
names
like-
going across it.
Mhm.
cause you go to like some of like side or things like that. Like, you're welcome to the town with these signs
Yeah.
that are just, these beautiful wood signs that just say all the different businesses, and it's just a nice carved, hand-painted white, and it just looks like, hey, we take pride in our city, we want, I don't know.
I don't know
So-
if the city can afford that
Yeah.
expense on top of,
Right, and it doesn't
You
have to
know,
be right
but-
now, but I mean, something
Yeah.
like with, if you're putting a big giant
Flag.
flag, something that could go like right there with it, like,
Yeah, we used to have tourism meetings, we did the signs in Castle Rock, Longview, Kelso, all those different signs for the businesses, that was through us.
but I mean, that stuff, even
Yeah.
tourism dollars probably could eventually,
That's what it,
we set aside for signs like that to start.
I especially like the large flag, I especially like that.
oh, I do too.
But
I
I
like
gotta
that.
tell you guys, I'm a strong believer in the chamber. Member, participant, believer in it for all my adult life.
has
And I've
anybody
seen-
been to Castle Rock?
He's talking.
I've seen good things happen to the city because of the chamber and the chamber alone. And, you know, you gotta be on the other side of the fence as a business person too. I can tell you, they'll bring people to this city, they'll make believers of people in the city, and, you know, outside the city, that our city has got something to offer. And if, it's something we need to support a little bit. Now, I don't think they can afford a $500 a month, but I don't think the $1 is particularly a good number either, so I've compromised on that. I
Yeah.
didn't say we're gonna meet them halfway or something, but whatever we do, we gotta be sympathetic to their cause, because that's our cause as a city also.
Yeah, and again, we can't be passing, I mean, again, we're here to represent our constituents, so, anyway, okay. Continue on, there'll be negotiations with the chamber and they may walk away from the idea or not, but I just wanna be clear, back to Carol's concern is, it would have to be a contract that is in place, you know, that keeps us and the chamber separate, and they can choose to
I think
do
it
their
needs a
thing.
different name than Civic Center, because I think that misses.
Well, originally it was called the Gateway Civic Center. I've crossed off Gateway Civic Center, or Gateway Plaza or something like that. I crossed, it sounded like Gateway, and it also sounded like a strip mall when it said Plaza. So, more to come on that stuff. Okay, next item. Community Center, we have this building. We rent it out. It gets rented out a few times a month. I did get a citizen call this week that the linoleum is coming up by the front door and a few boards, so I need to work with Tim Silva and his team to get out there and do some repairs and maintenance. I don't know the extent. The call came in on Thursday, and I didn't have a chance Friday to go over there. So this building is still there. I think that we, you know, no changes here, whatever. I just want people to be aware that we have this sitting on Park Street, and it's still used. It has a capacity of 49 people. It's being used today.
Does it fund itself?
What was that?
Does it fund itself?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, the $100, I mean, even if
Pays for the
you're,
electric, water?
yeah,
whatnot?
exactly.
Okay.
So, I mean, if we rented it, you know, 12 times a year, $1,200, I mean, you're covering.
Taxes?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay?
Carol's got her hand up.
I just
Who
wanted,
did?
Todd, I just
Oh, I'm
wanted
sorry.
to mention one thing, that city council members have the opportunity to rent it, what is it, 3 times a year? No, at no, 2 times a year at no cost.
Really?
Mhm. So,
For what, for any?
Per-
any
per
purpose that
person?
you deem fit, yeah.
Oh,
I didn't know that.
So if you wanted to, you didn't know that?
No.
no.
Yeah, so if you wanted to
Carol,
have.
why are you telling them
I'm
that?
sorry, but if you wanted to have a birthday party or, I mean, whatever, the
Oh.
council members can rent it.
Well, if you want a
twice year,
birthday party,
free
just
of
have it at
charge.
Carol's
Does
house.
that work for the park too, for the barbecue area?
Yeah, so the Horseshoe Lake Shelter and the community center fall under that, so you, yes, staff and council members only. It doesn't include
Right.
planning commission and park board.
Right.
Get to use it twice a year.
Okay.
Is
Of course,
that
you
like
have
for
to
a
do it
weekend
in
or a day?
advance and fill out all the paperwork.
Yeah, you still have
but
to fill out and make sure the date's available.
That's great to know, thank you, Carol.
Is that for a
sorry.
day or a weekend or what?
It
It's
doesn't
one
matter.
day.
Doesn't include mayor, though.
That's fine.
And I also take care of people that change their name.
You're out.
Oh, and the Grange too? All right, and Green.
Okay.
You need some done,
So-
take care.
No action no comment for me to work on there. Okay, next item. The library on Park Street. So as soon as the new library is built, this library becomes back to the city of Woodland. The conversation that's been had so far with the city, or with the library, is there's shelving, there's a lot of things in there. Do we want any of them? Do we not? I've told them, take them all out. I don't want the city to have the expense to go dispose of things that we might not want.
Right.
So I'm like, you know what? When you revert it back to us,
Clean
take it all out, be gone. So,
Take it away.
yep.
And then put a smoke grenade, in
It's a beautiful facility. I think a lot of our residents are gonna be happy to have it. I just don't know with the upstairs, downstairs. Go ahead,
I
Carol.
was just gonna say that what the only,
Yeah.
the problem is, I mean, it's steps.
Mhm.
For older people, you know, I thought it could have been a community center or something because, but for the older people to get upstairs, there is steps and you can't get around it.
It'd be great to have like a teen center or something.
Yes, now
in
that,
it.
Do what?
Like have like a teen center. community
maybe
in
even
it.
ones at churches. I mean, they
Yeah.
might be interested in it.
What's that?
I don't, ones at churches, I don't know.
So, I show this here because again, when we talk about being a landlord, I sit there and I look and go, okay, is this something that will the community rent this out on weekends and things like the parks, with the community center on Park Street and things here? What is our vision? What do people,
I think we have a community outreach, and once the library's out there, do a community outreach to have people come talk about what they would like to see.
I think that's a
We
good
can
idea.
come up with 1,000 ideas, but,
okay?
so, because it's a historic building, right?
Yes, it
Yeah.
is.
So it's not getting tore down.
No,
It's-
no, no,
yeah,
no.
I mean, it's not going away.
I wanna be clear, I don't want anyone to ever
Yeah.
leave here and think, oh, they wanna, tear that sucker down.
Yeah.
Not a bit at all. It's gorgeous, it's a wonderful building,
Yeah.
well-maintained. Again, it's just, what does the city want to do with a building of that stature here?
Yeah.
Okay, so community outreach, we could do a workshop or something at a council meeting and have that, is what you're getting at, and we could do some type of,
Or do something crazy,
Maybe.
like do a barbecue out there and have people come out and have the discussion. Try to bring people to it
okay?
while it's
Hire me on
open
as
and
an
say,
activities director, I'll make use of the building for the community.
so. Do a barbecue at the, community building next to it, and then have people go tour the building once it's vacant to see what they wanna do.
Yeah. Okay, and that will be happening sometime in the fourth quarter. We don't have an exact date of when the library will be done. Again,
It's going up quick.
yeah, again, not beat them up and saying, hey, you have to be by this date or whatever. It's been very,
Inside takes the longest.
yeah.
Yeah, once they get the framing done, the inside's gonna be.
Yep. Okay. We've got City Hall at 230 Davidson Avenue that we own. So I heard your comments earlier about 100 Davidson Street here. The next one, well, there's 2 doors down, 2 slides down. If you go to that one, you have the Public Works building. So you've got 2 buildings that are literally within 50 feet of each other, but they're not connected, and you cannot connect them. You can't put a walkway between the walls. Prior administration, they all looked at it. I mean, everybody has told me, we can't do it, Todd. I'm like, okay, I got it, we can't do it. So we've got, go ahead, JJ.
Why can't you put one?
Is it
Because
fire
they're not
something?
actually, there's a little bit of a
It's two
gap
separate
in between
buildings.
them, 2 different
Oh, there is?
buildings. Yeah, so it's not one of those things where we're gonna cut through and make it all the way through. We owe about 350, 400,000 on that building, for the whole thing. I have a question for Gina. Gina will be back on Monday from vacation. We have the money sitting in a reserve account for it, so I'm not sure why it hasn't been paid, why we would pay interest for it. So I need to understand from her what, and I can see the payments going in, and I'm like, well, we've got the reserve cash there, so I'm not sure why we would be paying, monthly interest on it. So, with that said, there's 3 individuals that sit in there. There's a conference room, and there is the Public Works Director that will eventually be in there. Nice area, nice facility, but when you go back to 230 Davidson Street, the building that we're currently in, we've got a lot of empty space. We've got files that are in there that need to be archived, need to be sent off. And some of the files we send over to the fire station at the roundabout that we'll get to here in a second. Some of them have just been sitting there. So my envision here, and I've talked with the employees, and are they 100% excited about it? No, but they totally get what we're trying to do. Well, what I'm trying to do here. When a citizen comes in, sometimes they come into the city hall here to pay my bill, but if you have a question about your water bill or whatever, you might have to go back over to Kathy. You've got city employees who go over here, that go over here. There's a meeting that comes on, hey, we need to get Kathy or Catherine over here. It's a lot of just juggling around. Is it the fault of the employees? Absolutely not. It's a function of the building. So my envision here is you have in the front, you have room, you have back where Travis is area, there's desks there. I just think if we got rid of some of the clutter, got rid of some of the paperwork and things that we don't need, we're going to a new system. I don't know why we wouldn't come back in to all one building and make it, this is our city hall. If you want to talk to somebody, come in the door at 2:30. We're very inviting here, and this is where we're at.
You think they'll all fit in there?
100%. Will it be, and we can turn it and ask staff, will it be tight where right now they can just spread? Absolutely not, but I mean, my desk at my office is like this size. I would be happy to show you, it's 4 feet, and that is all that I have, and I have another person that sits right beside me, and we can sit around and talk all day like this, and it works horrendously, or terrific. It's great. Am I trying to do that to them? Not a bit at all, but I think there's just room. I mean, they've got great big huge desks, we've got files everywhere, we've got on that front white window right there, we've got files that go up high that makes it so it's not inviting when people walk by. Is there anyone in there? I mean, again, I just think it goes back to what do we want to envision people with our city? I'll turn it over to Travis and Amanda, their thoughts.
Public Works used to be there before we inherited 236, and we fit all just fine. I would say Public Works used to sit with Travis and where Maylene is now in the permit tech. It was cramped in their room, but we weren't utilizing the room where Gina and Audrey currently are. There is tons of space in their office that we can make where 2 or 3 people can be in that space and still have enough room to function for all of us.
We also
I
have
agree.
discussions about redoing the lobby. So if you remember, the front desk used to have an open space in front of the windows. And we cut that off, turned it sideways so it's a smaller lobby area. But that design, we could use walls, we could redo that space so that the lobby is more inviting. We don't use our permit center counter on the left very much, because most of our business is done online or on the phone. So,
Yeah, and they've changed the permitting where before you had to have someone walk around and do, it's all automated. The city did a great job. It goes, now I need you to approve the permit now, and away we go. It's very much more efficient. I think when we go to the new accounting software, much more efficient. So where if you think about where Audrey and Gina are back there, half of the room is big old files that are there.
Right.
And so to me, my envision is just make it much more streamlined so our community knows I can go to 230 Davidson Street and be right there. Thoughts, comments on that?
So if we do that, then the where Public Works is now, we could sell
So-
that.
Correct, 100%.
There's quite a bit of money there probably.
So, well, let's go back a minute here, Terry. Don't get all excited.
Yeah.
So, the tattoo parlor that's in there, we're charging them $800 a month rent, $850 to be exact, $850 a month. Okay, go ahead, Carol.
Well, I was just gonna say, if we did sell the building, I know we own the building, so we're not gonna get this big windfall because
No,
we
it
do
gets
own
rid
money.
of-
But
yeah,
it would get
yeah.
rid of one building.
Yeah.
If we did sell that building, what about the contract with the city and the tattoo parlor?
So you could sell the building and the contract would go with the
With the
new.
building,
Correct.
okay,
He's under,
okay.
I say he, the tattoo parlor is under contract, and so it is. you
And
know,
it's not, I don't remember how much is left on that time.
2 years.
2
So,
years,
and it just
okay.
got renewed in November or December, so I mean, it's like
Right.
20 months.
Right.
So here's the deal, before the city bought it, it had a restaurant, kitchen, and everything, which is great, because that's a lot of what the businesses are down there, and it was already permitted for. So, I mean, to get exactly what you owe out of it might be a little bit tricky or whatever, but I think it's just one of those things that we look to do. I struggle having two buildings, making a payment, and how do we streamline this?
I like the idea of moving everybody back and not getting rid of 100 Davidson, because that is kind of a historic building. The other one is not,
Okay.
and I'd be okay with moving people back in and streamlining that business a little bit.
I got a message that the Woodland Action Center has a flagpole that it may or may not work for,
Oh, okay.
and if they want it, if we want it, just pay to remove it. And
Oh,
it's
really?
ours If we want it.
A big, large one and everything?
Yeah.
Oh, sweet.
I don't know how big it is or what it is exactly, but it might be worth a look.
100%. I mean, that's very much into conserving dollars and, you know, recyclable things. So 100%. You know, I appreciate it. I'm assuming it was Deanna or somebody, but.
You'll be shocked, she's watching.
Oh, yeah. No, I think that would be great. I mean, for the city to partner with them and see, you know, totally agree. So, thank you, Deanna. So, I will take, I'm just writing my note here on the idea of 230. And Deanna, if you're listening in, chime in at any point. I mean, you know, everyone's welcome here, so I love your commentary. So, like, and I'm just writing this down. Okay. So you want to go back one, Travis, or, yep, right here. Okay, so we're at this building here, police station, council chambers, 200 East Scott. Again, I don't think there's any action, any conversation for this, just want people to be aware. One of our buildings that we have that is used. So we talked about the public works shop that we have out there. Council approved a little bit of work to be done early January on that, adding a truck bay and some other things. So I don't think there's any changes. I don't think there's any consolidation or movement there, but I just wanted people to be aware of the building. Lewis River Roundabout Fire Station. So this is the one just right here. We use it for storage. Predominantly, it is storage of paperwork, unused office equipment. So office desks get shifted back and forth. I've seen tables. I've seen it all going back and forth with Tim and his team. And also there is a fire engine that's in there.
Is that the Cowlitz fire engine that's in there, or is that ours?
What happened to the fire engine that was in there? We don't have a fire engine in there. My bad. I apologize.
The side without the windows is where we keep all of our light pole decorations and other decorations that we use throughout the year.
Oh,
So,
okay.
For Easter, Valentine's Day, and Christmas, that whole side is just packed with decorations.
I thought there was a county fire engine in there at one point.
There used to be, but it got sold and moved.
Okay.
So it's just basically, like Todd said, on the window side, furniture and.
We have a sewage lift station, I think, next to it,
Right next to it,
that's ours.
yes.
Yes.
Which I don't know if we did something with the building or not, but that might impact.
Yeah. I don't think there's anything we could do with this building. I mean, again, we use it for.
I think we need to keep it
Yeah.
for the decorations and all that storage, because we have no place else to put it.
Right.
Does it cost us much?
No, I mean, because again, we don't have much lighting there at all. There's no water. I mean, it's very cheap for us to have. It's cheaper than us renting storage somewhere else that's already paid for. Again, I'm not looking for action item or whatever. I just want people to realize, because a lot of people don't think that's storage right there. When they drive past it, they think it's, you know, a fire station or something.
Is that washer and dryer still in there?
No,
Oh,
there
they-
was a small bathroom, but that's been eliminated pretty much.
Yeah.
Also, just to mention, when we get to the nice weather, our staff will put lawnmowers and stuff in there, so it's easier for them to mow this side of town versus having to
Right.
move it back and forth from the shop. So they do use it in the summertime to store equipment there. And it also, like, talks about the access to the station.
Storage garage has sheds for us.
Yeah. Okay, any other conversation on that? As is, keep it?
Okay,
No change, no action item, okay. Water treatment plant, again, nothing to be done here. I just, a lot of our community, we hear about a water treatment plant and different things, but I think they kind of lose sight that there is actually a building and facility up there. There's a little cul-de-sac here. I've talked to Todd up there, and again, water is near and dear to our residents in the community here. It's one of those things where him and I have talked that maybe having an open house. I mean, Monty, you talked about hot dogs and a barbecue. We've talked about maybe doing something like that up there on a Saturday and opening it up and letting the community come up, tour it, and see it. Not until you walk through there do you realize and appreciate the aged equipment that our community has and the hard work that they're doing. They can give a tour, explain how the water is, explain the testing and why, when people sit there and say that water tastes horrible or it smells bad, yada, yada, yada. So I think that's something in this summer we'll look at doing. Monty?
Might be able to team up with like a chamber open house or something. and,
With
have a
Scott Hill,
meeting
you
up
mean?
there.
Oh, you
Or
want
even
chamber?
Scott Hill.
Or even Scott Hill. Like team up and do a joint
Correct.
thing to have a tour too.
Is that,
Huh?
I was just writing that down. My thoughts exactly.
Go ahead, Terry.
is that other
Is that
tank
one-
that's beside it, you can't see this picture, behind it, is that empty?
No.
No, that's the one that we're going to be
That's the leaking one.
that's the leaking one that they're going to,
Fix.
And we need both.
correct, absolutely. Yep.
For now.
Yeah. So, and again, that would be an opportunity for people to see, where the $5 million on that reservoir is being used. So, okay, open house, you all would be okay with something like that. We can work with the chamber, Rotary, maybe do a whole big, huge shindig up there. I'm just taking notes, sorry. A little slow. Okay.
I would say on the open house on the water treatment plant, I wouldn't want children walking around those planks. It's only if you allow them to go on top of the treatment.
I disagree.
We don't let anyone go out on top.
The open storage tanks up there that were.
Where we got to walk?
Yeah, I wouldn't let children up there.
Yeah, we wouldn't let any of the community go. I mean, we're talking about inside the treatment plant.
Oh, yeah, inside.
Yeah, so, 100%. But again, I would work with Todd on, safety protocols and procedures, 100%. Okay, wastewater treatment plant, again, no action item, nothing to change here. Oh, go ahead, Carol.
Used to, years ago, when you come into Woodland, it was horrible.
It used to smell.
Coming into Woodland, it smelled like shit, so.
Yeah, I know.
But I have noticed, when it's been real rainy here lately a few times, it's starting to smell
It
again, and
is.
I don't know if the people that have run that, or if they're aware of it, or what's happening again. But I have had several complaints about it
I
smelling.
noticed it.
Yeah, I have too.
Yeah.
I have too.
So, I will have Derek come to a council meeting. I met with him last week or week before. Again, trying to do all these one-on-ones and meet with people and get up to speed and understand. And when you look at the capacity of what we are able to treat and flush out versus what is coming in as well, if you, for 3 months in a row, are above 85%, you have to do additional work, yada, yada, yada. Well, we're creeping up on that, and they don't think it's the sewage and garbage and the crap coming from your toilet, Carol. They think it's actually that our pipes and the storm drains and things, because it is able to flush it out, some of it, but what's coming in. And so, anyway, it was an interesting conversation. I might have him just come to council meeting and walk us through, because eventually we will have to make the capacity and things quite a bit larger.
Yeah, because we don't want the welcome to Woodland
Right.
smell like shit.
Exactly, and so to do this, to figure
Well, that's
out,
a pretty-
right, to figure out if it's the pipes that are bad or if it is too much crap coming in.
Right.
They can put cameras in there and see if And what's happening is some of the pipes are getting old, and so they're bowing, and then the dirt and the soil gets in there, and we can't, in the
Flush
sand.
it.
And so you could, Castle Rock just spent thousands and thousands of dollars, went through their whole line to figure out everywhere it was. And his recommendation is we would go through, and I'm having Olson Gibbs put together a bid, and what their recommendation to be with us is looking at the older pipes and figuring out if some of those are collapsing.
Agreed.
Because we can't afford to do the whole thing. So 100% agree with what you're saying. I'll have Derek come talk to a council meeting and
Good.
give us that.
We are getting close to capacity too.
I know we are.
Mhm. But the reason they think there is a capacity is because some of our pipes and the dirt and the
Right.
sand that's getting in there. So, because when they do some of the tests, you can see what it is. It's
That
So-
was built for 20 years capacity, and that's where we're at that.
Mhm.
We're 4 years over it.
okay. Is that our last building?
You know, on this little building over here by the, fire station, the sometimes old, office,
that's not it.
it's on city owned.
Nope.
The little red one?
What about the public works area
Oh, the one
where
over
they
here.
have their
Oh, okay.
equipment?
Yeah, no,
That was the Public Works building.
Oh, okay.
And then, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I have a guest there. Come on.
I think the fire
No.
station
I was trying to do my timing
owns
just
that
right
now,
when we were
and they're
talking
gonna
about the.
It's-
get rid of that and
building.
extend.
Yeah,
it
it's
to
all
the,
good. So,
living quarters
um,
So, I'm
for the
sorry, I don't
firehouse.
mean to interrupt.
No.
I was
Is
just
there
gonna
long-term
be part of
plan?
it. I
No.
just thought it'd be-
Kim, come grab a seat. You're seriously. I mean, this is an open workshop conversation.
I think there'd be more than just one person here.
No, it's all you. There's a couple people online. But again, I think, you know, this is a community
This
deal.
This is really glittery.
So, Kim,
Like him.
yeah, she didn't want to sit next to me.
Like you never wanna sit by that.
You're my
person.
neighbor. Come on. So, the Civic Center, just to get Kim back up and, you know, refresh what we talked about here. So I discussed with them that we've met a few times, that you also have a committee that's getting together to look and explore what to do, what is the best decision for Chamber. At the same time, you all have decided that the oak tree is not the right decision for you all, and so that leaves you then trying to figure out what to do. I've met with Carrie a couple times. Carrie has toured the facility with me. We've met with Bob Koff, I explained that, and I've said that you are all thinking $1 a month, maybe $1 a year even, would be a better deal. And I said originally $1,000, and you guys were like, there is no way. And so we've talked about, hey, what is doable? What is $500, $600? What is out there? And so we had a conversation, and we agreed, Todd, continue to have dialogue and conversation. And again, I don't want to speak for anyone, so feel free to chime in if I'm misspeaking. Melissa and team over here talked about, you know, LTAC, is there a way that instead of $50,000, you could ask for $62,000, and that would give you an extra $1,000 a month to give. Carol, her concern was, what if there's a issue on a ballot or a political issue that the chamber doesn't agree with the direction of the city and you're in one of our buildings? And I talked about, well, you would have to come on and have a rental agreement. You would be treated just like any other tenant. Hey, you go do you. I can't tell my tenants what they can and can't do as far as political views and endorsements. I can only say a part of this tenant agreement is this, this, and this. And so I absolutely agree with Carol. We would have to make sure that that agreement was there. And she talked about what if, you know, a nicer mayor came in and things changed. And I said, yep, we would want to make sure and protect that as well. So with that, I open it up to you, my friend.
Those things are definitely something we've talked about. That's came up a couple times, that concern. And we felt the same. We'd have to have a lease in place where we would, I mean, me personally, I don't feel like that would be a problem because like we're a leasing, we can have views, different views than the city. But we do represent businesses, so of course we wouldn't want to appear that we're siding with the city. So those are things we've discussed and they've came up in our committees, and we have committee meetings, and we did this as new, but we've been taking it back to the board and getting their opinions, and then, you know, going on with our committee meetings. But that's definitely something we've talked about, and then We've talked about ways to come up with rent, and that's one of the options that we've talked about. And also the county, LTAC money. One of the things with that, that was a concern is, we didn't want it to appear like we were getting money from the city and then run it back. Like we were
Funneling money,
filtering it back.
so that we're basically taking money from LTAC, so
Right.
the city of Woodland now has money in their general fund to go do what they want with. Do you know what I mean? Because we gotta be careful that that's not what it's,
Well, I think,
that's what LTAC is for.
well, I guess, though, at the same time, though, if you're operating our visitor center, like, in order to operate it, you need to have a place. So whether you're renting from us or someone else, you're still having to use money to do that. So, I mean, I think that's where, I don't know, I think that's the perfect building to welcome visitors and our citizens to Woodland, and I think.
And
it's-
speaking not from a chamber standpoint, from my own standpoint.
Oh, no,
Yes.
you're representing the chamber
This
here,
is Kim talking today,
Yes, absolutely.
or right now. I 100% agree with you. I think it's a beautiful building. I think if it's the beginning of our city, it would make sense that, hey, this is our visitor center. It looks, it's small, but, I mean, we could make it work, and it would be perfect for us, so
Yeah.
I agree with that.
How do other cities pay for their visitor centers?
They
That I
do it
They're
with-
separate.
They do it with the chamber money.
Chamber money, is LTAC
I mean-
included on that? I mean,
I mean,
what?
not chamber money, hotel motel.
But you gotta realize,
Deal
it's-
without that.
Because
ours is combined chamber visitor center, not all are combined, they're two separate,
Yeah.
so,
It's
go
just
ahead.
that the chamber runs it right now.
Do you think the chamber would have the funds to pay the electricity, the water, and the garbage in that new building?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, that's something that we do now. in
I
our-
know,
in our
but
trust-
you're,
and-
you're talking a little bigger building,
Yeah.
you
Mhm.
know,
Yep.
so,
Yep.
okay.
And that, we have that budgeted, but that's a good point, that it will be a little bit more, yeah.
Hold on a second, Melissa, Terry.
Just a question, at one time you guys were talking about going into that part of the oak tree that used to be like a gift shop
Mhm.
and working out of there. Why did you gain that? What was?
So we had our annual banquet there, and there was, some things happened during that banquet that kind of scared us, shied us away from it. We were told how it was gonna appear, how it was gonna be ready, how it was gonna do and didn't happen. Carrie and I spent 8 hours there on Saturday, just getting it prepared for a banquet that we thought would be ready. The leaks in the ceiling, one of the leaks is directly above where we would be. The sign, just the maintenance on the place, and we would have no control over that in our appearance. And then another thing would be, we were basically going in there because of a gift shop and bringing it kind of back, and we thought chamber, gift shop, but then that's not happening anytime soon, we were told. So we just decided that might not be the best option for us.
I understand the oak tree, as soon as the weather gets good, they're re-roofing the ceiling,
And
or the
that's-
building.
Yeah.
And they're working with, the sign company to fix the sign too,
Yeah.
so.
People were like, that's kind of a red flag for a business, and so we just decided that maybe not going into a business would be the best option for us.
Did you know you're getting on the hot seat today?
Well, and Kim, just because you're coming late, I think
I'm
one of.
sorry.
No, that's okay. I just want to say, one of the things that we had mentioned was, possibly selling like beaver gear or woodland gear and things like that. And I had even mentioned like partnering with the high school, because we have like a marketing department, things like that, just like Kalama does in their new market center. And having our high schoolers bring gear that they're making in all of the different departments.
And
And
we
having
talked-
that as like a selling point. But even like when I went to Kalama with my daughter recently, they had exhibits. Like we have our wonderful museum here in town. They have exhibits. So maybe even having the museum have like monthly displays that bring them down to even bring the people to the museum that's farther into town, and having different things so that not only our residents can be like, oh, let's go check out what more there is, that, I think that would be a good way to even use that building too, to kind of bring some history back.
So, when you look inside the building, and it has a big vaulted ceiling and things, okay, it's small inside, it's a one-story building, but it looks two-story. Don't laugh at me. But there is a landing up there, which has been all shut off, and there's electrical and HVAC and things up there. Bob Koff, I can't speak highly enough for him and his family and what they're doing and meeting me down there and walking through this. And so when Carrie was there, we talked about it. He's going to have the electric, and this is his cost. He's like, I'm trying to give to the community, Todd. And I'm like, I appreciate it. Because, I mean, this would be like way down expensive. He's gonna have that electrical reworked up there and some of the HVAC so that it will be locked off, that at least it can be used as a storage unit for the chamber. If they were to come in, they could put beaver gear, they could things that, it wouldn't have stairway, but you know, they could get a step ladder out and pull things out. We're trying to make this thing doable here, because obviously with 600 square feet, there's not a lot of room to come in, but your exhibit's 100%. We just have to be careful if we lease it to the chamber here. You know, we can't tell them, well, you need to have an exhibit,
No,
and
but
I would hope that.
But I think
yeah.
working with like the museum and things
Yep.
like that
Yeah.
might be ways to also even get some extra funds too, like, hey, why don't we work together to find ways that we can work as a community to get funds to help support this too?
Go ahead.
You know, right now, we're working with less than 600 square feet, that trailer they got now.
Correct, but they don't have the beaver gear and I mean,
We had stuff all over the place when I was there.
again,
One thing that we have talked about that, like having a place to put like the high school gear, beaver gear to sell in there, or not just, you know, have it on there. But, a couple things that we've came up with as a committee, but we haven't presented it to the board yet. You know, like having a gift shop in there where, you know, we're selling city stuff, city
Yeah.
locals or
Local
whatever.
artists.
Yeah, and stuff like that. So that's something that we definitely have considered, and, getting it so that we're attracting people that will wanna go downtown and see the downtown.
Yep. So, with any questions for Kim? Kim, any questions or comments for us? You know, obviously, we're not making any action items
No.
out of this, but one of the things is you know, we're supportive. They're like, yep, continue on having conversations with the chamber, see what is best for the chamber, see what's best for the city and our residents, and keep coming back.
Do you guys feel that, we should pay rent? We should pay to be there?
Ken, did you hear what I said earlier?
I didn't, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
I was trying to make my timing right where I came in here on that part.
Well, I've had a lifelong experience with the chamber, and I'm a strong believer and a strong supporter of them. And I think the city needs to subsidize your efforts significantly. Now, $1 a month rent, that's pretty cheap.
Oh, can I
$1,000 a
speak on
month
that?
is too much.
Can I speak on that for 1 second? The dollar came in because the previous administration, that's how it was kind of presented to us. Like, basically, here's the building, you move into it, we'll do $1 a month for 100 years, whatever. That's how it was presented to us.
So I guess that should be, I mean, this is the bantering that Kim and I have been doing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wanna be clear, the chamber is not saying $1, Todd, but I mean, that's
Yeah.
our kind of joke.
So that was kind of like, that's how it was presented to us. So we, you know, it was kind of like if you go in there, this basically wouldn't have to pay rent.
My point is that the city will be a lot better off with an active, strong chamber in the future than it would without it. And that's money in the bank for the citizens of Woodland in one way or another. So
Thank you. I
we
really appreciate
need
that.
to help them as much as we can, you know, within reason. You guys talk, you know, I mean, I'll leave it up to you, Todd, to do negotiations with it, but even $500 might be too much.
Well, and that's why we went, and we've talked about this, and
Yeah.
we said, what is the going market rate for other real estate? And so like, and that's why I brought up like the tattoo parlor, $850 a
Right.
month. So, again,
I don't think they need to pay the market rate.
but again, you gotta
Or
figure
even
out what
half
is
of
the,
it,
to
because
even
they're
start a
not-
conversation, you gotta have a market
They're
rate,
too valuable
otherwise.
to the city.
Right, but again, you gotta know what the market is, so you know, okay, am I giving discount or am I not? I mean, you gotta have something to say, so.
Well, and I think, you know, just the fact that if the visitor center is part of it, it is part of something that we should consider part of operating our city, is having a place where people are getting information for our city and for the things around us. But if they're paying the utilities, like, that could be considered as part of what they're paying, like, into the whole bundle, I think. But do we have extra LTAC dollars that we did not give out this year that we are still expecting to get in, that they could go back?
You know,
There was a reserve, yes.
There's a reserve.
So that there is money that they could even go back this year and ask for an additional bit?
To be honest with you, I don't know, all I do know is downtown Woodland Revitalization asked for 4,000, and then all of a sudden it got pulled at council. So, and they were gonna get the 4,000, so I know there was 4,000 that was left somewhere, but as far as.
But there was reserves
Yeah.
on top of that, but
Right.
I don't remember how much,
Yeah,
you know,
so-
so.
I think there were.
But whether, you know, whether we meet again,
Right.
you know, I don't know how
Okay.
that would work to come up with extra funds for them.
I think we will try to have so much in the reserves in
Yes.
the fund.
Yeah, and the other thing about, oh, go ahead, Monty.
I'd just say you have my support to get the visitor center in there. Negotiation and
Yeah.
what the terms come to, you guys figure that out. We can have an executive meeting and talk about where we're at with it and go from there.
Thank you.
So,
Perfect. Yeah, I mean,
She's
and that's what
smiling.
we've been doing, I mean, we.
Thank you.
Regularly, and like I said, anytime there's a change or whatever, I call Carrie again, I mean, it's a city-owned property and making the, but we have to make it so it's doable for,
Yeah, if we're gonna subsidize anything in the entire city,
what was that?
if we're gonna subsidize anything in the entire city, except the police and fire department, it would be the chamber.
So, 100% agree.
I'm just gonna play
No, you're
devil's
fine.
advocate,
Okay.
just for a little bit.
I'm the devil.
I'm okay with it too, but if we rent another building in the city, what are we gonna do there?
Exactly, are we gonna say, well, it's for the benefit, it's
Right.
another building that is not vacant here? I 100% agree with you, Carol, and that's why, I mean, I know we're having the conversation still.
So could what we've talked about too is presenting, how we present it to our board is, the committee is, if we paid X amount of dollars, so this is how we can figure. So if we pay, say we pay $500 rent to the city with our utilities included. So as we presented that, then it was like, well, we're only paying like $200 more than what we're doing now, for budgeting, but that's how. we
Utilities
kinda
are probably double though, because it's bigger, you don't even have 300 square foot now.
I think
And I
as
wasn't considering that.
Yeah.
if you're gonna rent it, I think the utilities and all that should be in your guys' name, not the city's.
True, okay,
And
I
then-
totally agree with that.
And then if you're gonna rent we're gonna charge something, that should be different.
Okay, thank you,
So.
I agree, okay.
However,
Do you think they
with
would?
that, with Carol, with the fact that it has the trailhead, water and stuff, I have a hard time with them being responsible for the community using the
Well,
bathroom.
we could see if
I could
it's
see
gonna
one or
be-
the other, like, you pay electric, we'll pay water, or vice, you know,
I'd be okay.
like,
Yeah, I think we
negotiate.
I think they need to pay the electric, but
Yeah.
maybe
I
the
think
water
we need
might
to-
be
we
something.
need to do the water.
Yeah.
If the other people use it.
We have talked about that, we've talked about not wanting to rent it out, just because if we have it all set up and we have like our stuff in there, and Carrie's gonna be in I keep talking like we're gonna move in, dreaming, that little section where her office is, I mean, it would be pretty much set up
Yeah,
for
it
chamber,
needs
we'd
to
have
be
to.
dedicated to a
we'd have-
specific
Yeah.
purpose.
But again, I mean, we have RCW, we have ordinance that say, you know, what fair market is, so we gotta be careful here. I mean, that we're not, there's laws we have to follow, we gotta make sure that we have all of those in place, so,
So
again.
the two bathrooms are on the outside, that would raise our water, obviously, okay.
I don't know if they're on a separate meter or not, I couldn't answer that question for you. There is one meter, okay, so they would be all on the same.
I feel like this is all just negotiation that
Yeah,
needs
that
to happen,
could
and then bring it
come
back to
bring it
us.
back to-
And then
Okay.
we can hash
Yep.
this out in executive and see what we got, cause
100%
we're gonna
agree.
circle here all day
Yeah.
long.
Yeah,
Exactly.
no, thank you, and I so appreciate all of your time and working with us, I really do, it means a lot.
I wanna rent it for my office.
Okay, anything else on buildings and all that? I appreciate, appreciate you coming and sitting here and talking with us. I wanted people just to be aware of where we were at on that part of it, and the other, I have the action items there. Okay, let's move into our last action item here, is the, or no, we have one more after this. Okay, city council rules. So ordinance 1498, okay? I redlined this just to get a conversation going here. There's two things that, with me, and just, I'll open it up with an opening bid here. There's two things that are important to me, and I know that people might or might not disagree. I changed the 5-minute thing, 5-minute rule. Okay, I know that's a hot topic we can talk about, and am I laying down on it? No, not a bit at all. I just, again, want to have the conversation. Since I've been mayor, there's only been 2 people to go over 5 minutes. One has been Douglas's wife, who's gone over twice, and then George Tyndall, who went over once about the rocks. So, to me, I look and I say, okay, you know, if you all want to stick with the 5 minutes, I can certainly stick with the 5 minutes. Boom. Go ahead, Carol.
Well, I was gonna say, if it's a hot topic, and we've got the lobby full out here, we cannot go 5 minutes each.
Correct.
3 minutes each, you know.
But if the ordinance says 5 minutes and we have to let them have their 5 minutes, I can't cut them off at 3. But, and that's where I've been going.
Does the ordinance say 5 minutes?
Yeah, the ordinance
Okay.
says 5 minutes.
Okay.
And so that's where, you know, we threw it out there. Is it one of those things where you just want to get rid of it and let people talk, or you want to keep it at 5 minutes? So hold on a second.
I'd say
So-
probably keep it at 5 minutes.
And we can have conversations, so I just want you to know where I
Yeah.
kind of made edits. And again, I wasn't trying to drive it, I was just trying to open the dialogue and conversation.
Yeah.
The second one is, the formality of
Yeah.
Mayor, Mr. Dinehart, you know, Mr. Smith, Mrs., you know, when they come up. These people are all in our community, they know us, we know them. Calling them by their first name where they're comfortable with that. I mean, does your wife get bothered that I call her Meg? And I mean, I've met her,
No, no.
and I just think
Yeah.
that it makes it more inviting.
I-
So we'll get into that, Carol. Hold on one second. I just want to give you where I went on the changes. And then the other change was, right now, is if it's on the agenda, we have to talk at the beginning. Whereas I think that at each agenda item, we should have a conversation. And the reason I look at that one there is council, when Will was running for mayor, was willing to change that council rule every time during the election, but all of a sudden, it's in the ordinance. So if it was good enough during the election, obviously it means that much to our community. Why would we not change it? Because, I mean, you were changing it then, but all of a sudden, so those are my 3 things, and again, I'm not tied on any one of them, Carol, I want a dialogue with everyone. Hold on,
But
Carol.
to me, I'm gonna
Be
call
candid
you,
with
I'm
me,
gonna
girl.
call you mayor, or Mr. Dinehart, I'm gonna call you Mr. Mayor. Because, to me, if it's just Todd, it's demeaning the position that you're in, it's not respectful. So to me, if I'm gonna address you, it's gonna be Mr. Mayor. It won't be Todd. Now, out in the community, when we're not in the meeting, I have no problem calling you Todd. But during a meeting, to me, it's gonna be Mr. Mayor. And if I'm referring to one of the other council members, it's gonna be Mr. or Miss so-and-so.
And so, I mean, again, we'll get to the next one, just let me, I mean, and I appreciate what you're saying there, I mean, I view, and the reason I was looking, and the way I changed it was one of those things, how you want to be addressed. So, Carol, if you want to be called Councilmember Rounds, we would go with Councilmember Rounds. I mean, so that's why I added in there how they want to be addressed. I was elected as Todd, I go to the community, I'm Todd, people come up here, Todd, and so that's where I just look.
But anybody is by their first name when they're elected. That doesn't mean that you disrespect the position by calling you Todd when you're sitting there.
Okay, and so that's
In
why.
my
yeah,
opinion.
Okay, yeah, and that's why I
You
just
know,
put it in there.
but that's
how you want
mine.
me.
It may not be everybody else's, but that's mine.
100% agree. I mean, so Melissa.
Well, and I think there's a difference between a town hall and a community event versus us sitting up here.
Right.
I think this needs to be kept a formal environment where people are taking us seriously, and I think when you take away those titles, people look at them as your equal, and during our actual meetings, they're not our equal. We are the decision makers, and they need to see us as those decision makers. And I think all of us slip, and sometimes we're like Todd, or
Yeah.
because I'm like, oh, I forget their last name because I know them so well
Right.
as their individual person. So I think the slips happen, but I think we still need to try to keep that professionalism during our professional meetings. Whereas that just shows the audience that this is who is in charge of this meeting, that it's not a free-for-all, that they can speak the same time
I
we
agree.
do, and
Totally.
things like that, to keep that order.
Go ahead, sir.
So I heard from past, I think Ben Frederick spoke a lot about it and tried to make sure that there was a set of council rules and change because things were so out of hand. So I think when he got in, he tried to really rein things in to try to make consistency, and I can understand that. I get the, we're all community members and everything, and I could see absolutely both sides. But I think the goal is to keep this as a professional business, get things done, and try to keep things, in order. Now, community members coming up to speak, 1000%, I love having them come talk. Getting rid of the timeline, I think you need it just to be able to shut something down eventually, but I'm a gray area on the timeline. Like, as I'm sitting up there, like, I'm not always like, okay, doop, 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 anybody can call out a timeline, but if somebody's coming up there and giving relevant information, any council member can say, hey, we're going over timeline, and the chair at that point can call it. Or say, hey, I need a motion to extend this or something,
And I'm a matter of compromise here. I'm not, again, I was just trying to get the dialogue. So let's just go through the changes that I made, and whatever y'all want to do, we'll just, whoop. So 4.1 was the first one, and where I just threw in, or by first name according to his or her preference, is where I threw in. Because right now they say first name shall not be used in council chambers. And that to me, I'm just like, we're a small town of 6,500 people, and we can't use first names in here. But if you guys want to strike that,
Yep, I'd strike that in a second. Take to extreme to
No,
understand the principle. How would you call the President of the United States? Joe or
So,
Clifford?
I don't look at the mayor as the same as the
but
United President of the
we
United
should though,
States.
because it's a formal business arrangement. And I agree with Melissa and Carol. I understand what you're saying. When you and I go out for coffee or beer, it's Todd and Doug. We're just shooting in the street here.
Okay,
But in
so
a
I mean, we could
business
get politically
arrangement-
correct here, well, when we all go out
Yeah.
now, you know what, I'm gonna go by, I mean,
Yeah.
do you see what I'm saying? Our community here
That's a slippery
is,
slope.
right, but our community, let's look at what our 6,500 people here are. They want that to feel welcome, they wanna feel included, and they just don't want all this other, and so that's where, to me, I just throw in there, if that's what they want, throw
Well,
it in
I'm
there.
not
I'm not
sure
saying
they
you
want
can't
that.
call me
Some-
mayor, and I'm not saying I can't call you, but I'm just like, if a community member feels more comfortable coming in and saying, hey, Todd, I want him to feel welcome and not be like, well, sorry, you really have to call me mayor.
So
Go ahead,
I would
Melissa.
agree that the first name shall not be used in the council chamber should be striked, because I think you're right. If somebody in the teams wants to call me Melissa, by all means, they can refer to me, but I'm talking about formally during the meeting. So I think like when we're saying, or by first name according to his or her preference, I think those need to go away. Like those additions need to go away, but I think the last part does need to be striked. Like, in my opinion, I think up here, this needs to be formal, like in our meeting.
In
But
our
just because
meeting,
you're in
it should be
chambers, if I'm having a conversation with a council or somebody in chambers, I don't need to use that formal language unless we're conducting our meeting. Like, that's kind of where I stand on that.
Agreed.
We're here,
Go ahead,
we're,
JJ.
we're here to conduct business. This is a time that we meet twice a month to take care of business. And, I mean, how many times do we come over here in the last 6 months where people come over and chew our ass off and nobody does nothing about it? Should be a point of
So,
order
hold
right
on a
away.
second, hold on a second. I don't think that anybody's had their ass chewed.
Oh,
And,
bullshit.
no, I'm saying, since January?
Well, no.
No.
But you
He's
said the
saying,
last
well,
6
I
months,
mean,
and that's why I'm
last
just saying,
6
I wanna be,
months.
but again, I mean, we need to, I mean, I'm a big, huge fan. Quit talking about the past. We've got to move on. It is our job as a group of 8 people here. We have to move on for our community. We can't keep dwelling on the
So say from here on out, that,
Yeah.
just say that.
You know what I mean, Carol?
I know what you're
Yeah.
saying, so from here on out,
From here on, yeah, so
Anybody,
anyway.
anybody could do a point of order, and they could have done one back then too.
Right.
And that could have happened, and it did not. So
it's
unfortunately,
as much our fault.
these
as it-
chairs up here, you're gonna get somebody come in and be angry, and sometimes you let them vent, because that's what you're gonna have. So, but anybody could have done it. So neither here nor there. As far as this being a business meeting,
Okay.
if somebody in the audience comes up and says, Todd, I'm not gonna throw a point of order and be like, you need to address him as
No.
mayor. You know, but up there, it's a business meeting.
I'm not saying the
Yeah, no, and
community out here needs.
yeah,
If he's comfortable with that, I am too, but
Yeah.
I'm talking about us up there
Right.
being professional.
yeah. But if somebody slips up and says, you know,
Yeah, I'm
Carol,
not-
I'm not
I'm
gonna
okay
be
with-
like, hey, it's council member.
Yeah, point
you
of
know,
order. Or-
So,
No, me either, because that does happen once in a
Yeah.
while. I'm
Yeah.
guilty
Oh,
of
yeah.
it myself,
So just-
but I tried.
So just so you know, I mean, we're not making official change, I'm editing here so that I can bring it back to council and we'll go through that whole order, but I mean, so what I'm hearing you all here is get rid of the or by first name according to his or her preference, you guys are not supportive of that. And get rid of my comment where I said or by first name, you want to still be called mayor, madam mayor, Mr. Mayor, those things. But strike, first name shall not be used in the council chamber. Am I hearing you all correctly?
I'd like to
Right,
strike
leave it
everything
like
in
it
four
is.
point one.
What?
I support you entirely about moving the speakers in the agenda. I agree with you.
Well, hold on a
100%
second, we're not there yet,
But
we're just
I
going.
like 4.1, I don't like that, I wouldn't wanna see any changes made to
No
4.1 at all.
No one sees-
I like
no
all
one
your,
sees-
and I understand where you're coming from, and I got great sympathy for it, but I'm telling you, that's a slippery slope. We will lose confidence in our community, respect, and we'll be less effective in 10 years from now if that's implemented. I've seen it happen
We have
before.
more confidence now than we have in years, I think.
Yeah, and I agree
Yes.
with that. I'd agree with that 100%. And you're
So-
doing the right things. I think this is one thing that you and I will disagree on, because I have seen this lack of protocol elsewhere deteriorate. And then they disrespect the council or the Senate or the Congress to the point where they don't care what we say anymore. I'm telling you, that won't happen all the time and won't happen to a large degree, but that's a slippery, slippery slope that I don't want any part of.
Okay, so, again, so
That's just my opinion.
no
Everybody's
changes
entitled
to
to their own.
4.1, you're saying?
Right.
No changes to 4.1 whatsoever.
No changes to 4.1?
I support your other changes, though.
but if you wanna call me Monty, I'm not
So,
gonna call
so
you out
you're
on it.
saying keep the first name shall not be used in council chamber
Let's
at
just
all?
leave it as is.
Yeah.
Just leave
They
it.
won't
People
leave
can
Okay.
still call you Melissa up there, but we're just saying keep
Okay.
ours the way it was.
Okay.
So I will start doing my best when I'm up there to call you council member.
And if you slip up, we're not gonna cut your
We're not
throat.
gonna cut
Carol, I'm
your-
gonna do it my whole life, I've known you for
Well-
30 years in this town as
But,
Carol Rounds.
I know, but
I'll-
we're gonna try to be professional up there.
And don't get me wrong, it's hard to get that council member Rounds out.
It
I'll be
is.
like,
Mhm.
and you're like, Rounds.
I'm just gonna say CR. You can be Carol Rounds or council member Rounds. CR,
That's
what do you
fine,
got?
yeah.
But see, there you go, Carol, you're like, you can call me. whatever.
Councilmember Rounds, that's fine.
CR. Okay,
We
so,
need to
I
set
don't
the
think
good
any of
example.
us ever really pushed it hard.
No.
but
No, I
again,
mean,
if we're gonna have, I mean,
till-
this is Todd, JJ, if we're gonna have an ordinance, I think you have to follow it. And so, yes, I will do my best to follow this ordinance and call you.
And we will too.
Right,
And like Melissa said, we are gonna slip up once in a while ourselves.
yeah, and so
But-
that's why I say, if we're gonna have it, let's follow the rule.
We-
I'm not into rule breaking.
Yeah, but we will.
Okay, can you go back up to comment 5? Go up a page. So I struck on this one, citizen comment, so this is the order of business, the order agenda has to be. So 5 is citizen communications for not on the agenda. Then I struck item 6, which said citizen communicate, because my proposal or recommendation is to make it so comment comes during each action item, not all before.
Well, that would be on the agenda though. If we've got things on the agenda,
Mhm.
so you wouldn't need to strike items on the agenda because,
No,
They can talk about it.
agenda approval, you'd have agenda approval, then you would have your agenda items, and then during each action item, you would have comments allowed.
So you have to have comments listed under each
Correct.
action items, put
Right.
comments.
Yeah, action items and
So-
comments would be there with
So
that.
number 13, you'd have to say action items and public comments,
Correct.
One of the,
and you didn't have that.
Right, my bad.
one of the
So you
reasons.
need to add
we-
that in red.
One of the reasons we put that in there is we got our meetings, we hold our meetings, and we wanna try to get them done as quickly as possible. We don't wanna be here all night. If you got 15 items there, every time somebody goes to say, hey, we wanna do it this way, you know.
But again, council rule says it can only go till 10 PM, so you're gonna be here a maximum of 3 hours.
Well,
Okay, so that's not gonna go past there, cause that's in the council.
Yeah.
But again, I go back to JJ, during election time, every single week, it was
And I-
canceled like this, which tells
know.
you that is what our community wants. And if we are here as elected officials to represent our community, why can we not give them this piece here to talk during each item?
We give them
So-
the permission to talk before, on the items on the agenda. We give them permission to talk about the stuff off the agenda, whatever they want. Do they need to talk about everything every time we say, oh, well, we wanna do it this way? And, oh, well, let's see what they got to say.
I think you're having
Hold on a second,
comments.
Monty, Melissa.
Sorry.
Well, I think I enjoyed when we went that way. And the reason I did is because sometimes when you have a full packed agenda and everybody comes up at one time, you get lost in the shuffle of what everyone said about all the different topics. So I enjoyed when people were speaking on the topic that we were about to vote on, because you could take it all in and really think about that before voting on that one topic. Where if you had 10 items and you had 50 people speaking on 10 different items, I try to write notes, but all of a sudden you're like, wait a second, that person had a really good point, but what did they say? Like, I like having just that topic talked about before we vote. So I enjoyed that when we did it that way. And I do understand what you're saying, JJ, but I do think it's important that sometimes people, the further the meeting goes, oh, I did have something on that specific topic, where they may not have grabbed this when they came in, but when you say, oh, this is what we're talking about, any public comments, somebody may have been like, oh, yeah, I did. I just think it gives them that time to think about.
Monty.
The other thing is, let's say you have 5 items on the agenda, and somebody wants to talk about those 5 items. They are now, with a 5-minute rule, are getting a minute per item. Whereas, if they want to go up and speak 5 minutes on one action item, they should have that right to speak towards that action item and have their allotted time towards that action item. But with it, at the very beginning, you're allowing 5 minutes to talk about anything on the agenda at that point. So they could be limited to giving a,
minute if we got 5 items.
and just
They
giving
could-
a brief little comment on each one. I would rather have to hear what people say and give them the allotted time to the action item in general. I don't think it's crazy to say that adding it before each comment item to give them that time to speak towards that action item. Now, if a meeting's gonna go past 10 o'clock and we don't get all the agenda done, that's where you go back into moving it to the next agenda, and previous items on the agenda, do that and then address new items.
I mean, I didn't see you back there, sorry.
Just to add to Monty's point about cutting off on the agenda, so when we put the agenda packets together, we put the most important stuff that has to be approved that night at the top of the agenda, so that if stuff does get missed and that stuff can roll over to the next meeting, that's how we organize the agendas, just so you know.
So if it does roll, it's not something where it's a.
Oh,
That's
you know, missing
important to
out.
be
Yeah, correct.
taken care of.
And if we're gonna have the lobby completely full of people, and we know that it's a hot button issue, we can do a change of the rules right then and there and say, hey, you know what, this is going to be a very busy night. We're gonna limit the 5 minutes down to 3 minutes tonight because of how much discussion's going to be of this. So we're going to change this rules tonight so that we can try to give everybody a chance to talk tonight
Just
to make
like
this.
what we changed the rules to let people
Yeah.
talk after, okay.
Right, Hunter, absolutely a great point. But if we saw, we could,
Yeah.
make a motion to change for tonight, we were like 3 minutes, totally agree. So, any concern from the group, then moving that one to comments to each action item.
I support you 100% on that, you and I are see eye to eye. I would like to keep the 5 minutes though, and we can make an exception, Dave.
What was that?
I like to keep the 5 minutes.
We'll get to that, okay.
But as far as people talking multiple times, that's a great idea. And it's, and I'm here till 10 o'clock. I'm ready to be here till 10 o'clock any night. I'm ready to be here till midnight. I want to hear what the public has to say.
No.
Well,
Hey.
people work,
Yeah.
so it's
Yeah,
not
people
good.
work.
I, for
Okay.
one, want to hear what they have to say. I get up at 4 a.m.
5.1 to you.
Before you move off of that one,
Yeah.
the one thing I don't see on there is when we have workshops. Normally there's a workshop list on this, and when we have workshops, I think one thing we had talked about was letting the community talk.
Yeah,
when
that's
we have
5.2, and I don't
Oh.
see that.
But it's not on the agenda, like, thing, should it have on there workshops listed?
Yeah, so I guess under action items and public comment, we'll add workshop, okay.
Well, it's
We
normally
used-
under the parking lot.
Okay,
Oh, is that part of the parking lot?
okay.
We used to have third meeting, another meeting once a month
For
for workshops. Now I see that we're having usually 2 workshops a meeting now.
Do you all wanna start meeting 3 times a month?
Well, I mean, if it's.
I love you all
if it's
dearly,
work
I'll meet with you. Wanna make it every week?
Well, no, I don't wanna make it every
Right.
week, but
Carol,
if it's,
come on.
if it's a workshop
Right.
that there's quite a bit involved with it, I think we should have a separate meeting for it, because if you're gonna allow public comment with it also,
Right.
it's gonna take up a lot of time. And so, that's my opinion.
Hold a special meeting.
Called a
slash-
special meeting,
Exactly.
yes.
Right.
For the real
workshop.
hot items, it was going to take a
Especially
lot
when
of
there's like
public,
2 or 3 workshops,
participation,
like,
yeah.
it's becoming a long night, and by the
Right.
time we get to the workshops, I'm like,
Yeah,
what
you're
are you teaching
deer
me
in the
now?
headlights. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
I'm done.
Especially if you have
Last week
Travis
was a good-
talking.
Right.
So Travis 5.1, I hear we will leave that, go up a little, Travis. I don't know if you were, right there. Citizen comment shall be allowed during each action item. We'll leave that in there then. Okay, then go to 5.2. The change is I put in there and citizen comment. So workshop, description of the workshop topic and citizen comment. I think if we're having a workshop, more participation. Okay? Anyone disagree with that?
No.
No.
I just have one question on that.
Yeah, go ahead, Monty.
Is citizen
Go
comment
ahead, Mr. Smith.
during the,
Councilman.
is citizen comment during the workshop, like they will speak as the workshop is going?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
No.
Yes.
So the next one is 10.2. I didn't change anything on staff duties, agenda items. It's, yeah. You went too far. So public comment, timing, representation, I got rid of the persons appearing before the council should limit their comments to 5 minutes. I heard you loud and clear, we're gonna keep that in there.
Yep.
Okay? I know how to negotiate with y'all, so I'll give you that
Oh,
one,
yeah?
okay?
We haven't voted yet.
11.2, subjects not on the current, so again, I will keep the subject to 5-minute limit on there. So I'll eliminate that edit I had. Subjects on the current, I put, shall make such request to the chair during each specific agenda item.
Yeah.
But then I will keep on there, all comments should be limited to 5 minutes per speaker or other limitations as the chair or council may
Correct.
deem. So I'll leave that under there. All I'm striking is under citizen communications for items not on agenda. Okay? So that last piece there. Councilmember Frymark, you're gonna have to tell your wife 5 minutes, okay?
I'll take care of it. She won't. She probably didn't even realize it.
Item 11.3, during each specific, I just did,
Oh,
okay,
yeah.
11.4. I will, no changes there, we'll get rid of the time limit, I'll leave the time limit, I'm saying it less further, so those edits of mine will go away,
Okay.
okay? And then no questions, hold on a second.
Go back up.
Go back up. Just a
Right
little
there.
bit.
This one here, I struck, no question shall be asked of the, nope,
Go back down a little.
So it's manner of addressing the council, got it.
right, go down.
Yeah.
11.5.
No, it's still 11.4.
Right
Right
there.
there.
No question shall be asked of the council members except through the chair. So,
I agree with that.
you do,
I
okay.
think they should be directed through the chair.
Okay.
Not somebody get up there and start berating
Okay,
each
Agreed.
individual member.
okay.
I think it should be through the chair.
You're the point man.
Yeah, we can't talk
That's
to them.
right.
We can't talk to them, right?
And it shouldn't be personal dialogue between
Okay.
the city council and the individual out in the audience.
Okay, so I will strike that edit, meaning the no question shall be asked of the council,
But we
will be
can-
kept there.
But we can suspend the rules if we have.
If it's something, you know,
So let
but-
me ask you all this,
Okay.
again, this is learning curve here for me, I'm not a professional at this. So if somebody comes up to council and, again, they're gonna address me, but it's about you, Carol.
Mhm.
Do you like the fact that I allow you or ask you, do you have any comments, or do you want me to just say no comments
No
and move
comments.
on?
No,
I mean, don't you want an opportunity to speak, or I'm just
no,
asking?
because then you can get into a arguing point between the city council and that individual, and that's not what we're here for.
What about council
Now,
members?
if they wanna talk after the meeting and hash something out, I think that's fine, but I do not want to be arguing with someone, because I have had the opportunity to
With
say,
me?
no, not with you, well, past maybe, but even since you've been mayor, I've had the opportunity to, you know, for someone to address, you know,
Yeah.
me directly or Terry directly. And I sit there and I keep my mouth shut, because I'm not gonna be arguing with someone out in the audience about what's going on,
So-
or what has been done.
And so I'm not arguing with you, I'm
No,
trying
I
to
know,
learn. Yeah, I'm
I
just
know,
trying to learn from
but
Carol.
that's
Yeah.
my opinion.
Yeah, and I'm just trying to learn here, so.
Yeah.
Again, I will tell you where my weaknesses are, and this is where a weakness of mine is. So when an individual comes up to address us, okay, even if it's an agenda item that they're on, okay, do you all give comment back? I mean, do you know what I'm saying?
That's my comment, is that sometimes people come up here to speak to items not on the agenda or on the agenda, and I would like to ask a question back for clarification and stuff, so I kind of, not that I wanna get in the argument
No,
side,
but you could say, Mr. Mayor,
that I
What
would
if-
like, yes.
Yes.
And in the
And
past,
that-
it has been like, no, council can't say anything, so I get
but
what
you
you're
could
saying,
address the mayor and
yes.
have him find out what you're wanting.
Yeah,
Because
so
I
like,
always ask, you'll notice, any
Right,
comments from
right.
here, and I'm just trying to learn, Carol, do you not want me to do that, where it puts you all on the hot spot, or do you
No,
want me?
I don't think that is correct,
You
to
want
be
me?
putting us on the hot seat.
Okay.
If someone has a comment,
Then
they're
you're-
gonna raise their hand and address you up here on the city council,
Okay, and that's
in
what.
my opinion.
so you'd rather us just raise our hand and ask
And-
him if
yes.
we can address them? Okay.
Yes.
Okay,
I,
that's fine, I
that's
just,
my opinion.
that's what I would like to know, is
because
that,
we
because
need,
there are times
we
where I'd like
need
to.
to keep it
Yes,
as professional as we
absolutely,
possibly can.
and so I think that's
Yeah.
great, but I would like, there are times where
Yeah,
I would like to address
exactly.
people.
I would like to see after everybody comes up and speaks, that council has a chance to just say, hey, does any council member have anything to address at that point, you know, to give just a quick,
So we have items not on the agenda, we have, let's say, 3 people come up. Typically, if they come up and somebody says something, I will address their issue and try and just, right there, here's what's going on, this is the actual way it is. Are you saying, Monty, that I should wait till all that's done? Or, and I'm asking Carol, I'm kind of mixing this again, I shouldn't answer that question, or I should sit and look around the room and see if any of you want to address?
you're,
I-
go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think you can address that,
Yeah.
but then you can ask the council
If they have any comments
if they have any
after
comments
everybody's up there.
after.
Okay.
Yeah, just so, because I don't like the fact that we sit up there like mindless little drones.
No.
That we don't say anything.
Yes.
And I think that's maybe what we're trying to avoid, is that
Right.
mindless drone mentality that we're kind of there.
Yeah.
So I would like the chance to just say a brief, if somebody comes up and comments, for us to just say where we're at, or what, you know, yes, I agree with you, yeah, we can address this more, or yes, Mayor, I would like us to look into this, or something, you know, versus this mindlessness. Now, but if you have somebody just going up there pointing at me, going, you know what, I seen you roll through that stop sign, blah, 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 you know, and then you're like, would you like to make a comment? I'm like, yeah, no comment now. What do you want me to say?
Right.
Like,
Okay.
you know, I mean, that type of scenario, I think, would be a bad deal in here.
Again, we're all in this together, so I'm just trying to learn. I don't want you to think I'm,
No, no.
so.
No, Mr. Mayor, you are the point man on this thing. Everything should come to you initially. If somebody wants to talk to any one of us specifically, or we want to address that question, you can raise your hand and say, comment on that, or you can look around and say, do you want to comment on it, or do you have anything else to say? Ask for that. And then if the conversation gets out of hand, it's up to you to put a stop to it.
Okay.
Okay, that's enough of that. You know, we need to be civil and respectful in here. I would like to talk to people who want to talk to me directly, but only only if they ask permission first through the point man. Am I pretty clear on that?
Am I allowed to talk now, or is it just you
Absolutely.
guys?
The rules haven't been changed yet.
I don't want to waste your time, because I know it's valuable.
Councilmember Smith said no.
I know your time's out. Okay, so this is one thing that I have had a lot of questions about when I start attending meetings. So when it's citizen comment, they can come up and say whatever they want to say, and you guys can't comment to anything that they say.
Except the mayor.
Okay, so, but when they come up there, and this is my opinion again, when they come up there and they start attacking you, like they're attacking Terry for his opinion on something, or they're attacking, a certain person for just their opinion,
We can call point of order
like
and they have
that's,
to stop.
what's their point of just attacking you and you just sit there
Yeah,
and go,
exactly.
And-
Well,
and I get
but
that-
you can't get into it.
Yeah, you don't wanna
me,
get into
no,
a
no more
conversation,
argue.
argument.
Yeah.
But if they're coming up there and saying, hey, the chamber should go in the in the civic center, and you wanna talk about, ask me some questions, then I feel like that should be okay.
Well,
But if
he
they're-
can do it, and then if they want to ask questions, all they got to do is raise their hand.
Oh, say like,
And ask the mayor,
Mayor,
may I
can I
speak
ask,
to that?
may I
Yes.
ask the council member? And then the council member can decide if they wanna speak
No,
on them.
we can
No.
say, we would like to address
That's
this.
it.
Right.
Okay, okay.
And that's where I think we have
Without
that in the
putting
rules.
us on the hot seat of saying, no, we don't want
Yeah.
to address that.
Right.
And
So
it-
it's allowing
it's
us
good
to have the,
talk
So
about
hold on a
it,
second.
but not
Mr. Smith.
get attacked.
I think that's why we have it in the rules, to say after citizen comment, council can give comment at that point. Council will have the opportunity to provide comment to citizen communications.
Okay.
Okay, so we will leave here, what I'm hearing, no questions shall be asked of the council members except through the chair. We will leave that on there. But again, because we're not going to get so transcribed into these rules and it's not there, I will use, I'm hearing a little bit of judgment. If they're attacking you, Carol, I'm gonna say thank you for your comment or whatever. But if they're addressing general things, I can look around, see if you raise your hand and say, does anyone from the council want to?
Exactly.
Right, you as a
Carol
point
gave
man.
me a little discretion here.
Because if,
Miss Rounds did.
if they start attacking her, I could call point of order.
Okay.
Which
And
Monty
so
has
everything
done
stops, yeah.
before, when he
And I've
has
done
been mayor pro tem, because somebody, they were talking about a subject, but they were looking directly at me. And so he said, you need to address the chair, you know, so it's not putting that person only in the hot seat when the decision was made by the whole council.
And that kind of diffuses the person also,
Right,
to where you're redirecting them back to
back to you.
and it seemed like it elevates
Mhm.
down a little bit at that point.
Okay, and that is the last change that I had in there. So ultimately, though, what we're changing is, we're moving, citizen comment to each agenda item. Everything else will stay status quo.
I guess I can live with that.
One last comment on that.
Okay, go ahead.
Is that, you know, I think Will Finn was a strong procedural mayor. I would disagree with some of his extremities, but he had the right idea. The point man, the mayor in this case, needs to control the conversation at a high level. Sublet that when it's appropriate, but when things get out of hand, you need to take control again and saying, okay, well, that's enough of that. Or especially if the councilman or woman say, I have no comment, or I don't want to discuss that, then you should put the clamps on it right there.
I agree. I'm gonna make one comment. If we're all doing our jobs and doing what, as an elected official, what our community
Yeah.
elected us to do, we wouldn't have.
We should have very little on that.
Correct.
Right. If
Go
any.
ahead, Ms. Rounds.
Okay. I will say this. we are elected up there, and some decisions are very hard.
Correct.
To decide what you're gonna do or not. And it may not be what every citizen want, but we are trying to do the best we can for the city.
100% agree.
And so, there's still gonna be, not everybody's gonna be happy with the decision that we're gonna make. So, you're still gonna have those people come up and try to berate people
Yeah.
just because they didn't like it.
Yeah, I agree.
And
I
it's not for the
agree.
betterment of the community.
Yeah, I
So-
agree.
I don't think like, it's not control the conversation. I don't think that's the right, I think it's control the tone, like, try to limit the tone of how this conversation is gonna go and keep it
Yep.
on a professional level. I think that's more the idea of that.
100% agree.
So,
Great commentary. Okay, any other items on that piece there that anyone wanted to comment about? I appreciate you having dialogue around there again. It was a starting point, wanted to make sure that we all were agreed. Last action item that we have here, before we get into projects, was a special event, Y Racing. So this is a event with the triathlon that comes through Woodland. They didn't do one the last 2 years, I believe, but they did one previously, and there was a lot of uproar in the community with, there was no parking, the traffic congestion, yada, yada, yada. They have reached out and are looking at a special use permit to do this again. So,
What does the city get from that?
$100, and they use
Is
our
that it?
facility.
So the rate structure for this type of event, because they're collecting fees, because they're entry fees and there's vendors there, it's a $500 entry fee, a $300 damage deposit, $75 for the application, and then they're required, any proceeds between the vendors and them that they collect is 15% is owed to the city.
Okay. Because don't we have to have police and extra garbage pickup and
So that
cleanup and?
brings up the other point is, when I reviewed this file the last time, and the only time they've been here was in 2019, there was a lot of comments from staff saying the garbage pickup they promised to do, they never did, so staff spent a huge amount of time going through the city. Parking was an issue, the policing part was an issue. They didn't do proper traffic control when they blocked streets off. They weren't allowing residents to leave their own homes, which is a problem. And they want to start at 5 a.m. So people at the lake were going to be hearing lots of screaming and yelling because their main hub is going to be at the park.
that's
They're
what I
ex-
remember from this,
Yeah.
is there was a lot of issues with it. If we do allow it, I think that they need to cover the extra city staff for road closures, and I think they need to cover the extra police
But
staff.
can we, under our
Yeah.
current ordinance, I mean, do you know what I mean?
We
Yeah.
can force them to require them to have police. We don't have the staff to handle that, so they would have to partner with, and pay the wage for Clark County or State Patrol to come in and do the policing for
Because you
just
can
their
do,
event.
when people do a special event, say a bear garden or something.
Correct.
They can rent police or whatever.
Yes,
or
they would have
guards
to
or
pay
whatever.
100%
Yeah.
of the wage for them to be there.
Right.
That includes our staff as well, and any staff time for cleaning up.
Right.
Traffic control was such a main issue with them. It is in our policy that they're required to have certified traffic controllers and flaggers and a certified plan. We put that in the code for the specific reason. The city typically does not provide that service, but if we are, the amount of time we spend on planning this project and whatnot, all that time they would have to pay for in advance. They're expecting about about 1,000 people to just do the event themselves. They're looking at date range May 31st through June 1st. So they're doing races on each of those days. They're looking at doing a triathlon, a decathlon, an aqua bike, a relay, a 10K, and a 5K. I believe one of those races will start at 9 p.m. and who knows how long it'll go for. So you're also looking at after hours of use of the park.
And where are they parking at?
Great question.
So
Through
if
town.
they are parking in the park, I think all of that should be feed towards the city, and
But how
And-
you gonna do it, though?
You
Well,
have
that's
to
the
parking
conversation that needs to be
people
happening.
Can't charge people who swim there.
So-
You're gonna charge these people.
So.
But if you're doing it for an event and they're trying to
Special
limit
event parking
who's coming in,
fees.
Right, I mean, I think what we have here is, I mean, the way our ordinance is written, we either can say, no, we will not issue the special use permit, or we will. Do you know what I mean? I think
Yeah.
I think that's where it is, and we can certainly come back to council and, you know, go down this whole rabbit hole. But before I approve this, I wanted to have a discussion with council to say, what is your view on this? Melissa?
One thing, especially because it's a 9 PM, the Horseshoe Lake has no lights in their parking lots and stuff, that they would need to provide lights in that parking area, because there is nothing down there and it is pitch black.
They would be required to provide safety measures, that is in our policy. And actually, all the parking down there, they're blocking the entire park road. So there'll be no cars in and out there, they're actually using that road to set vendors up
Yeah.
all the way down.
And that's what I
So
mean, if they're gonna
that's
take it
limiting
over-
parking that could be used.
if they're gonna take it over and try to stop who's going in there, they need to pay for that.
They plan to use the entire park. They say that they won't, they will still allow residents to be down there, but the comments I heard from last time, residents were being turned away from their own park.
Yeah.
JJ
Don't,
Hudson.
don't most of them use the, Dan Heerman's parking area?
Well, yeah,
They
it's
would
gonna be some
have,
of that property.
yeah, they
Some of that
would have
property.
to contact
Okay.
the owner of the property to use that.
Now, we had another person doing a run
Yes.
before. They.
They're not allowed to come back.
The what?
They have been permanently denied application.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That was out of the 2 marathons that we had between this one and them, they, basically did quite a bit of damage to the city. And so they were asked not to come back.
Wow.
And I think it's worth,
Hold on a second, Melissa, I think
Sorry.
Carol had a comment.
No, I was just listening,
Oh,
but
got it.
I do remember that they were banned from coming back
I didn't
because,
know they were banned.
I think if they've been here once, if we really make sure that there's some strong emphasis on what they are responsible for and what they need to be responsible for, we can give them a second chance, because I think this is a great
Set the ground rules.
opportunity for our city, especially with us building a spot that's supposed to be a trailhead with bathrooms. Like, I think that's what its purpose is to be able to have these type of events. But I think that we need to set some really strong ground rules if we allow this, that say, this will be done, and maybe that means we need to set higher damage waiver, like, cost or something.
We can't deviate from our fee
Right.
schedule, so $300 is $300.
Right, $300 is, I mean, again, that's
Well,
what I'm
but
saying.
I'm asking, like, for an event that is this large, is there a way for us to say, an event that is larger than this, we have a different schedule, like,
You would have to write it into the actual rule, because there is an ordinance we follow.
so we could revisit the ordinance down the road?
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
to- I mean,
Yes.
That's what I'm asking, because,
But
I
on
mean,
this
we don't
one
have
here-
these a lot that,
So if we're looking at, like, changing rules as far as special events go, we can look at, if you're gonna have an event that is planning over a certain amount of people, then that's going to increase the damage
Yeah.
waiver.
Resolution
Now,
for, yep.
I can see that that's going to impact the Planters Days or
Yep.
something, you know? So I think there needs to be like special language in there that says, you know, this can be waived per council decision or per mayor's authorization or something on a case-by-case type of deal. Because obviously, we're not gonna wanna impact Planters Days, that is completely the city event, but
or you say outside city use or something.
the only
Yeah.
thing is the mayor, that's putting the mayor under the gun. And I know he doesn't want to be put under the gun. So if he
Right.
wants to take, in that particular instance, because he wants to look like it's fair to all concerned.
Yeah.
Basically, so,
But there's a clear line between city-sponsored events and
Exactly.
complete for-profit events.
agree.
There's
I
a clear
agree.
defined line on
Right.
that, and I think that's where,
Planters Day does not count for
Yeah.
these events.
Do we have a request already for this?
Yeah, that's
Yes.
why
Oh,
it's
we do.
been brought to you guys. Because how large this event's gonna be, this does require a council approval, so you will see it at council. I don't have their entire packet, yet. They're missing quite a bit of information.
So, do you want me to meet with these people in advance? I mean, and get more information? I mean,
I think you should at least meet with them. I mean, we don't wanna just say no, you know, you should at least meet with them and find out.
So if it requires council approval, we could in that, we could say, hey, we'll approve it under these circumstances, that the deposit waiver is going to be higher, and we will be changing as far as how big,
I don't
because of
think
how
so. I
big
mean,
this
no,
is.
it's just, that's like zoning or something. If this is the zoning, we can either approve it based on the zoning, or I mean.
Can we? I guess that's a legal question.
Yeah, I don't know, I mean.
On special use.
They
You-
go
you-
through the county.
As
too,
far
right?
as fees go, it's set whatever's in the resolution. We can't change
But as
that.
far as crowd
But as
control and-
far as crowd control and stuff, we do have authorization because it's a safety liability issue, especially on city property. Correct.
Hire their own people.
There is a concern, I'm sure concern with Planners Day, because this is gonna be the weekend before. There was concern from staff of how much damage would be left in the park, from this event.
Oh, so
And
this
we
is
wouldn't be able to
2
turn
weeks, 2
around,
weeks.
we wouldn't be able to turn around in time to make it look beautiful for Planners Day, so there's a little bit of concern with the date range.
You say it's the week before Planet
May
Day?
31st through June
Final Day is
1st.
June 16th.
Because the
Yeah.
carnival
It
comes in.
starts
the week
June 13th
before
is the
Planet Day.
first day.
The carnival
Thursday.
comes in actually that following Saturday, I believe, so they start
Yeah.
setting up a week in advance.
Oh,
And that's part of the
okay.
problem.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
Okay.
So if they're bringing vendors in, is that gonna hurt our downtown businesses where they're not gonna get, where they're gonna be inconvenienced, obviously, from people getting down there, but then they're gonna get the money from,
Correct.
Well, they pay the city 15% of what they sell
And s-
supposedly.
In
but-
speaking with the organizer a few months ago, she said, I asked her, you know, what percentage of people who actually, you know, stayed at hotels here for your event, how, did we see an increase in revenue within the city? And it was like 30%. So a lot of people stay outside of town, they're not staying here, they're not, I mean, the best place they go is maybe to Safeway to get some products and then they leave.
Maybe
um,
gas.
Maybe gas, but they're not
Might hit the
staying
bar
here spending money in
afterwards.
the city.
Yeah, maybe the bar afterwards, right.
But they are having a beer garden,
Okay,
so that's
that
gonna
alleviates
change
the bar.
things. And there's a whole set of rules on the beer garden itself. We're only allowed, I believe, 2 a year, and they have to be sponsored by a nonprofit.
So,
I think.
I'm gonna put this
I
to
don't
bed here for a
know.
second. I'm going to meet with them, find out more information.
Right.
I'll tell them when we're gonna put it on the agenda, and they can come and
speak.
talk to it as well
So
in their 5-minute time window.
their beer garden and Planners Day would be the only 2 for the year then?
Yeah.
Because we normally have them during the movie nights.
We are not doing them for the movie night this year.
We're not doing the movie nights at all this
We're
year?
doing hot summer nights, but we're not doing beer gardens this year.
Oh, okay.
That's fine.
Okay? So,
Let me make one comment on it. I've seen a couple of dozen of these in the past. 20% of them are what I would call good, never excellent, never superb. 80% of them are fair to extremely poor. For this many people, I'd have a tendency to be very, very skeptical. I don't want any inconvenience to homeowners that can't access their house. That's a safety problem right there. Emergency services or anything like that. I'd be very, very skeptical on it. I wouldn't say no right out of the gate,
What?
but I'd be very, very leery. Let's put it that way, because these are younger, athletic, more people. They're younger. They're on average more responsible. They'll have a lot of weight behind it. Let's put it that way.
Kim?
They will have to seek approval from the Diking District as well as the county, because most of the run is gonna be past the shop, going out
Right.
towards the bottoms and back around through the city. It's just the lake is gonna be like their main hub. But anyone out North Pekin, South Pekin, in that direction are gonna have issues, you know, being mobile on the normal day-to-day basis, especially like on Sundays, you know, people who go attend events on Sundays.
If we ended up looking at approving this, I would like to see maybe a couple people from the county Public Works Department be like point people that are on staff that day, that are the resources that they have to cover the cost of that. 2, 3 people, 4 people, I don't really care what the number is, but, you know, at that point, we would have people there to mitigate issues, like, no, you can't do this, No, and then they have a point person that they can go to with Y Racing and say, hey, I'm getting a phone call that they can't get out of their driveway, and this isn't happening. I'm driving over there right now, and I'm getting them out of there. So that there's resources that can be mitigated, so.
Yep, I totally agree. So I will have a conversation with Tim and his crew as well, just to make sure we're on the same page. Yep, okay.
This is some more.
That's, yeah, I was gonna say, that's 2 days.
Yeah,
3 days? 3?
First and first.
31st and 1st, yeah.
31st is on Friday.
So 2 days.
Yeah. Okay. I have my action on that one. So let's go really quickly here to projects F. So again, I want people to be aware of what's going on. We hear a lot of conversation about Scott Hill Park. We had community members came in, they don't want that drive, or that access road going down. And then we hear a lot of people about Lewis River development. When we talk about Lewis River development, we're talking about the one between Enzo and Gun Club. So, did I not get a packet?
No?
Do we have one?
So, the first one that we're gonna go through, Travis, is Scott Hill Park.
Did Melissa, I don't think she got one of those.
Gabe has one.
Oh.
Gabe, you have a whole stack of them.
Yeah, and neither did Monty. Monty needs one.
Here, we can share.
You don't have any more maps, do you?
We can share. We can share.
Oh,
No.
no, let us finish passing them out.
It's okay, we could
Oh,
share.
let us pass. Oh. I didn't know
We'll
we
live.
were gonna design a park here.
Look at you, you need to see this stuff.
So the previous site plan that was approved, is what the underlying pictures are, a native facing plan that is no longer applicable. So unfortunately, this map is not the greatest because this is the work that's completed, and the additional plans is still out there for future construction. The phasing plan, which you cannot see very well, includes this soccer field and this parking lot. And the reason why the issue is before you today is because they have requested a revised site plan so that they can finish this part. And they included this part because the city of Woodland has a $500,000 grant for turf on this field. The problem is to get that turf in, there has to be about $500,000 worth of grading. And the idea last year with the previous public works director was we were going to go out and the city was gonna complete this grading so that we could use the grant money to build the turf. And we were gonna partner with the Rotary. The problem is that part of that vision was we were going to seek existing developers who had residential projects and see if they would be willing to do the work to get the fields ready for the turf. And the idea was if they did the work, we would give them park impact fee credits, which basically means when you build your homes, instead of giving us the $5,800 per resident for our parks, that you would have already built us a park and we would have completed the field. So the issue that's going to be coming to you as the council is whether or not we're still interested in pursuing it.
So, to be clear here, instead of getting cash from the developers, you would be getting work. And just so you all know my conversation, cash is king. You know what? If I know that I have an ordinance and this is the impact fee that I get, give us the cash. If we choose to go do that work, okay, that's great, we can hire a contractor, we can put out an RFQ and find the cheapest. I'm not one who is in favor of saying, oh, instead of you giving us cash, we'll here, let you go do some work. We need, our city needs cash, and we have these subdivisions that are going in. After these subdivisions are all done, it pretty much it comes down to there's about 30 acres of land out there within the city limits. So we won't have this opportunity later on. And so to me, I just think cash is the way to go. Go ahead, Gabe,
Why
and then I'll
don't
go
they
to
turf
Gabriel.
the baseball field that they already have finished instead of starting another soccer field?
So, hold on a second, Gabe, that is totally Rotary, they're
Okay.
doing, we're only on, go ahead, Carol.
The only reason why they took in the soccer field was because the city they requested from the state a grant. And so they have that 500,000 sitting there, and they're gonna have to send that back if they don't use it. And so Rotary is trying to help the city save face by not having to send back the 500,000 up there, which would help the city plus Rotary in getting this field ready to go. That is gonna bring in a lot of money once those things are done up there. And so, with that impact fees, would they be having to make a park? Is that part?
So the impact fees is cash and we can use it for new. So that's
New
where we.
park?
Right, so we could use it towards this.
Okay.
Or what they're wanting to do is rather than having to come up with cash.
They'll do the work.
They're saying, we'll do the work, and then we're saying, okay, well, it's 200,000 you owe us, that's $200,000. So to me, I just,
So are we getting $1 million worth of work done for 200,000 then?
who,
Well,
yeah, that's what I'm saying, Carol, yeah. Melissa.
I think kind of the same question Carol has, but also, we have to use that money for the turf by a certain date or we lose it. And if we're waiting for all these houses to be built to have enough to do the work and pay for it out of our own pocket, we may not have it in time to get the turf used, and then we have to send a grant back, and then we lose face and maybe we'll not get as many grants. And so my concern with getting money, which yes, I agree, money is better, and especially if we get more out of it and we have to spend less. But if we can negotiate and get the work done and still be able to use this turf in time and not have to give back a grant and lose face.
And part of this goes with, you also gotta work with Rotary and say, hey, do they want our efforts here? You know what I mean?
I mean,
Again,
because I
Well-
know, in speaking with Rotary about this project in the past, they have said, there's no way we have the money to get this field ready to use the turf in time to use that grant.
Right.
So I know Rotary has said, we cannot have this done in time alone. They need us to do it with them. And if we don't have the money to come up and do the field, because we're waiting on homes to be built that haven't even paid their park impact fees, my concern is that we lose the grant. And I think making sure that that grant gets to stay within the city is really important, that even if we lose a little bit of money by letting the work get done, I'd rather make sure that gets done and not lose the grant, because ultimately we're getting more money
Isn't there a
just by
field
having the
ready
grant.
to get turf right now up there? What's wrong with the field that's up there right now getting turf? Because that could be a
There is-
soccer and baseball field.
again, I mean, we're not here to
No,
drive.
I know.
This is a
Okay,
separate
So I
field.
don't
I
have
know,
any
but I'm
idea.
saying, why not turf the field that's
You can't,
already,
it has to be a different field.
why couldn't it be the?
Because there's a lot of prep work that goes along
No, I
with
understand
turf.
how it works.
And turf that has not been prepped for turf. So you're still in the same boat. Plus, they've got the sprinkler system and all that already in for the field that's already there, ready to use once the parking lot is handicap ready.
Do you think
So-
it would be a lot it would cost less to get that field ready to turf than it would be to build a whole new field
But-
next to it?
No.
Hey,
because-
Travis, can you help us out here for a second?
Well, I understand how.
Travis, but
execution
hold on a second,
all
there's,
works.
isn't it area one we have to complete area one and then before we can move to area two with these help?
Well, the problem is that the field that's there is not adequately constructed for the turf. So even if we wanted to, the Rotary would have to let us do it, and then we would still have to incur a ton of grading on top of the existing field before it would go in. So unfortunately, it doesn't make sense to use the first field for the turf. That's why that shaded area to the top right of the existing parking lot would have to be expanded. So that's where the phase line or the project line that's in that shaded area, because that shaded area is everything that still needs to be graded. The turf is only that first soccer field. So that's why they've drawn the dotted or the dashed line around the parking lot and that first field. Either we're gonna do the turf there, or we're gonna have to give the grant back.
And the grant, though, correct me if I'm wrong, Travis, the grant can only be used on that area one, so to speak.
Yes.
We can't
It's
use it
assigned.
on other areas. And that's where we went and got the grant for, and that's where it has to be used.
So I think from the Rotary's point of view, if the city's not going to get the grant for the turf, they want to just go back to get approval to finish the first field, not the second field. They're not interested in the second field at this time. It's the city sticking its nose into their business for that second turf field for the $500,000.
It's Rotary trying to help the city, and Rotary getting the benefit from it too. That's basically the reason why we added that one soccer field in, is to help save face with the city and you be able to utilize that 500,000.
Carol, you're on Rotary.
Mhm.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I believe Rotary was applying for a grant the same time the city applied for the grant.
Yes.
And they were denied because the city got
City
a
applied,
grant
yes.
for the same park without them telling us that they were doing it.
Right.
So we kind of bit the Rotary in the tail by doing what we did.
Correct.
And so,
Okay.
Seems like you should get instead of going out, get the money for the turf, the big fields first. You get the carrot before the horse.
So let me have a conversation with Sandy Rotary, and I say Sandy because she is the one who reaches out the most and things. So let me have a conversation with her, have her come to council meeting, and we can go through this here. I just wanted people to be aware that, you know, the push and the shove here, and make sure that we're not pushing a, you know, rope up the beach here, that we literally are.
Darlene should be with Sandy
Okay.
also, because she's the one that works with all the grants
Yeah.
as far as
Okay. Yeah, so.
all the work that goes into everything she does with the state. She is the lead point on that.
Okay, so yeah, Sandy, whoever, yeah,
Sandy and Darlene.
Yep,
if
bring 'em all.
Yeah.
and welcome it. So any other, go ahead, Monty.
What would it take to get that one field up there usable?
Which one? The
The
first
one that's
one?
one there now?
All we gotta do is get the parking lot done and have it, the handicap accessible. And that first field will be
Great,
ready.
it's ready.
It's ready now. But it's not accessible because you don't have the handicap, the parking lot and the handicap. That's all we gotta do. And we've got money to do that with our grant that we have. But we've gotta get this, permit approved before we can apply for the grant money that is approved for us. Which will finish this parking lot and get the handicap ready where you can use that first field. We've got the money for that.
Looks like they just voted to be ready to go.
Pardon?
It looks like they voted to be ready. I mean, it looks good.
Well, yeah, it is ready to go.
Mhm.
I mean, it needs to be mowed,
Yeah.
of
it was
course,
ready
but
last summer.
it was ready last summer,
beautiful.
but we could not use it because the handicap and the parking lot was not done.
Right.
And that's in this phase of work that we're asking for this permit, so.
Let's get that
Right at
parking
the
lot
back.
done.
Okay, so Sandy and team, Dar, whoever else, I'll invite them all to come to council. We'll get this on there as a workshop and have the discussion so that we can all be in agreement what we want to do and how to move forward.
And the grant has to be used by, is it the end of this year?
I'm not sure.
Might be a good big fundraiser again. You get a lot of people that donate.
And I thought the grant was for 600, but it's 5 to 6, somewhere in that, so. Okay? Any other questions, comments about Sky Hill Park I just wanted to have that dialogue conversation before I invited them and they showed up at a council meeting. Oh, go ahead, Terry,
Yeah,
sorry.
one question that did come up with that road that you mentioned earlier. Where defines that?
That's the
Right
next
by our
thing.
Right by the
clubhouse.
clubhouse, right down by the clubhouse, down the hill, right by the pool,
It's supposed to
But where is
be,
that on this map?
right here.
This is where you be completed road.
it's right where the backstop of the baseball field is, it's completed.
Right, it goes all the way down.
It
to
goes all the
Merriweather
way
Lane.
down. That's where our Meriwether Clubhouse is, Terry.
Oh,
You
right down
see
here is the.
the clubhouse listed at the bottom
But
of the page.
see, this permit does not include that,
Yeah.
does it, Travis?
Sorry?
This permit that we've got in does
Does
not
not.
include that road
Does not include.
at
Okay.
this
So
time.
none of this
So
has
the
been
clubhouse
built.
is back.
Right.
That's future.
So it is roughed in, but it hasn't, does not have the curb gutter sidewalk and all the surface.
That's the
And there's a-
sledding hill.
There's a bridge that's been built. Just a walk, just a walk
I
across.
don't know whether the bridge got built or not, I think it's a culvert.
Okay. Just 2x6 right now.
It's a sledding hill in town.
Okay. Any other questions on that, and then we can move on to this last item? Okay. Lewis River site
It'd be
plan.
great with the actual pavement.
So the first page of that packet is the approved site plan for the apartment complex. At the top of the page is Lewis River Road, at the bottom of the page is the Lewis River itself. The city owns property, about 6 acres in the floodway, and this property surrounds it on essentially 3 sides, the north, east, and the west.
So the square box at the bottom that says proposed park, that's the city.
Yeah.
Where are they getting the dirt from right now?
Digging it out.
So they're actually digging holes and moving it up here. So they're doing what's called a no net loss of storage. So they're digging holes here and moving it up here. So that way there's no additional fill in the floodway, or the floodplain. The city has a easement that comes down here, which is how we access our park.
Right.
But in reality, the public is trespassing across their property, and they're not really going to our property, they're heading out to the boat launch and the riverfront itself. So that is on their property.
The boat launch and,
What's that?
the boat launch is on their property?
I think the boat launch is actually on the private property for the people who own Misty Meadows, or it might be
The
the
trailer
church.
park.
The church? I'm not sure where the boat launch is.
It's, yeah, it's directly,
Well, it's not
I thought that's where the
approved.
city.
It's not an approved, but people do.
have it easement for
Sometimes,
30
but-
years.
Not
So
a-
we're
Strictly
sending them
on
down
the
here.
trailer park.
So as part of this proposal, what they
My brother.
offered is, when they were gonna construct this, there was going to be access to the city property that would come down here, and they had talked about potentially doing some paths and improvements out here for us. This is the Williams pipeline, and so they have some problems dealing with the Williams pipeline. Amanda, can you move to the next slide? So they have come talk to us
So
about.
can you go, hold on a second, can you go back, so just so people are clear, this is what was approved when they put that sign out there that says 252 apartments. However, 252 apartments cannot go there based on what Williams is telling them and saying, on our easement and right of way, you're not putting apartment. So when they keep coming and saying, well, there's 250, it's not 250, it's not gonna pan out financially, okay.
So they would have to redesign this side, and then they would have to redesign this side, because they can't cross
Right.
the Williams pipeline.
Can they put parking spaces on it?
No,
No.
they cannot.
No.
No asphalt.
Just
Williams
green
doesn't
space?
want them to put anything on it, nothing but
Just
grass.
green.
It's just like
Yeah.
our
You wanna be able to dig it up.
pipeline
It's-
neighborhood.
So the next side, so the city had dealt with an application that would allow some slight modifications to the zoning district that would allow them to do a subdivision and have some smaller lot sizes, smaller widths. And this is what they had envisioned as part of their pre-application conference, which happened in August of, actually, sorry, that's 2023, not 2024. So they are working on this design and they are almost ready to apply. You'll notice that they have not planned anything on this area. So this area is technically buildable because it's in the floodplain. And this line is the floodway, so you can't put structures out in the floodway.
84 homes, you notice that? So when we talk about, and again, I want to be clear here, this is their pre-planning. They still would need to come forward and get approval to have more house space on their property. Right now, our zone requires 30,
I thought we approved it already.
I thought we did too. I thought we went
the
through this already.
variation.
Yes.
Yeah, we disapproved making the lot smaller.
But I thought
I thought we said no to the lot size in the
Right.
beginning, and then they came back, and then we had huge amounts of public pressure
Right,
about
but the-
allowing 252 apartments.
right, but the lot size,
And then
but
we-
then once you talk about the coverage of that lot and how big that house is on that lot is different.
Yep, so there were some minor amendments, but I don't think they ended up getting the lot width.
Setbacks.
Because they didn't propose lot width changes.
Yeah, they were changing the
Yeah.
house.
Square
So-
Square
There
footage,
was
yeah.
setbacks or something,
Right.
wasn't it?
Yeah.
So those haven't been approved.
Yeah, so, the lot width variance that they didn't need, they don't need it for the proposal that they were looking at. And they are still doing the final design, so it may be, I think it might be in the neighborhood of 90 units is what I think their final design is, but they haven't figured that out. But what is important is one of the things that they had talked to Tracy and the previous mayor about, and that was whether or not the city would be interested in acquiring this property to become part of this property, so that the city would end up controlling all of this, and we would be able to potentially build a park trailhead here so that people could get out and explore this area once the work is done. And it's a big difference in potential price. So the next page is, they are going to be coming back to the city. Sorry, you'll need to rotate this again. They're looking at, keep sliding up to the photos. So they're looking at this property here, is the valuation for this property and the value for this property. Next page. What they're saying is the current market value is $600,000 for the piece that's next to the road, and $170,000 for the piece that's out in the floodplain. And so they are going to be coming to the council to be asking you whether or not we are interested in swapping park impact fee credit for this land. And actually, if you slide up, I think the last page is my, sorry, go to the last page. My approximate calculations is if they did the 252 apartments, it would be about 1.3 in park impact fees. But that's not likely to occur, even though that's what they got approval for. If they were looking at 86 homes, it's more in the neighborhood of 383,000. And what the applicant is going to be coming to talk to you about, and that is whether or not they would be able to give us the land, because right now they're land rich, but cash poor. And this is part of the extension of the conversation that we previously had, and that is, well, gee, if you're looking for $383,000 to finish Scottsdale Park, or would you rather look at seeing if they would horse trade for the land so that we would have a bigger waterfront park? So,
Councilmember Smith.
I would be cautious about discussing this without any plans and not giving our position away on open public meeting. And I
Yes.
think we should be discussing this in executive session, please.
Agreed.
Okay, correct. And so, again, the reason I brought this up here is I want people to be thinking about all of the impact fees. We as a council and as a city need to start thinking long-term. What do we want this place to look like in 1 year, 3 years, 5 years? We've got 86 homes here. We've got 200 homes that are being built over by the intermediate, or I call it the old intermediate school. Okay, you have a couple hundred apartments being built by Green Mountain. You're looking at close to $3 million plus in park impact fees over the next 2 to 3 years. This isn't going to be something that's going to happen all the time. It's a one shot we have here as a community, and we need to figure out what is best for our town and what we want it to look like. So, again, decisions can't be made here, but we can have a discussion, and that's all I expected here today was for Travis to come and say, hey, listen, there's a lot of talk here with our community on that subdivision. There's a lot of talk on Scott Hill. Good luck, Carol. There. That is what we have there. Any comment? Any discussion?
I think he's right, it needs to be in the executive
Move to
session.
adjourn.
With that,
Move to end the meeting.
I hear it first.
Second.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Aye. I thought we had to vote.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Great job. Thank you so much.